All right, welcome. Good to see folks out here this evening. Appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to come and join us for the meeting. If we can please call the roll.
Certainly, Mayor. Mayor Bright Cruz.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski.
Here.
Councilmember Albritton.
Present.
Councilmember Hartman.
Here.
Councilmember Jablonski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. If you'll please join me in the pledge.
I, Marianne.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first item is a quasi-judicial item. Richard, if I can turn that over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Please be advised that the following item on the council agenda is quasi-judicial nature. All witnesses who will testify on any item in this portion of the agenda will be sworn. Participants who are members of the general public need not be sworn and will be not subject to cross-examination if they are not sworn. The council shall not assign unsworn testimony the same weight or credibility as sworn testimony in its deliberations. The applicant has the burden of proof. All evidence relied upon by reasonably prudent persons in the conduct of their affairs may be considered in these proceedings, and anyone representing an organization must present written evidence of his or her authority to speak. Each person who appears during a public hearing shall identify himself or herself and give their address, and if appearing on behalf of the organization, state the name and mailing address of the organization, and then the council may on its own motion or at the request of any person continue the hearing to a fixed date, time, and place. No notice shall be required. Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you. So how do we,
The clerk will swear anyone who wants to speak on this particular item.
thank you.
If you are going to speak on this particular item, please raise your right hand and stand up for me, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. This is a resolution and final order of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving site plan application number SP 85-23 by MG Southwest Ranches LLC for a 1,900 square foot Fifth Third Bank at 15891 Sheridan Street, authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution and providing an effective date.
Great, do we have a presentation or?
Yes, staff will give a presentation. Do you want to make a motion in a second to discuss the item first? Or would you rather?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion, a second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to give you a very brief presentation, because I know the applicant has a more extensive one with basically all the details and more that I would cover. So I'll just cover the basics and enter the report into the record. This is an application for site plan approval to replace the 4,900 square foot Bank of America at Coquina Plaza with a 1,900 square foot Fifth Third Bank branch. The site plan maintains the existing access points into the plaza, has full circulation on site, provides 2 drive-through positions.
If we can please silence our phones out there, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Provides 2 drive-through positions with adequate stacking and an escape lane to get around. The queuing for the drive-through lanes. The amount of open space and landscaping on the site is significantly increased due to the much smaller footprint that this building is going to have. There's wall signs. There's a wall sign on one frontage, another sign pinned to a metal canopy on the front, and there's a 5-foot monument sign along Sheridan Street. The outdoor illumination complies with the code, but there is one thing to note, which is that because this has an ATM, The lighting on the property, including the parking lot, has to stay on as long as that ATM is open under federal law. There's an 11 o'clock shut-off, automatic shut-off requirement that we have in our code. That would not apply in this case unless the council limits the ATM hours to no later than 11 p.m. With that, staff recommends approval, subject to 3 conditions, that the building signage has to comply with the sign regulations. We did a basic review, and it appears to comply, but it's not part of this package that you're approving. That the wall signs have to be mounted directly to the building face, no raceways, and compliance with a technical comments and labeling memorandum that the applicant has in their possession, very minor things, just literally labeling type comments on the plans. With that, staff recommends approval with those conditions.
Great, thank you, Jeff. So do we have a presentation from the applicant?
Good evening. Mike Troxel with Thomas Engineering, 6300 Northwest 31st Avenue, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, representing MG Southwest Ranches, LLC. Thank you, Jeff. That was a pretty good synopsis of the project. We have some slides to, demonstrate what the improvements that are taking place. On the screen is the current existing configuration of the site. There's approximately 4,900 square foot bank with 4 drive-through positions. There's retention areas to the north of the building itself between the entry drive and the drive-through lanes. Yeah. It's on. Now it's on. On the screen now is the proposed site plan. There is one drive-up ATM closest to the building, or excuse me, drive lane, servicing drive lane teller. And the second lane further from the building is the ATM. There's a bypass lane that circulates around both lanes and all the stacking. As you can see, there's more than ample stacking from the ATM and drive-up lane through the main drive lane. The bank is greatly reduced in size from the 4,900 to roughly 1,900 square feet. And with the additional green area, we're over 50% pervious. So we have a lot of green area and a lot of landscape ground. The design requires 10 parking spaces. We're providing 13, 2 of which are designated for future EV parking. Let me see what else. We have a few renderings here on the screen depicting what the facility will look like once it's constructed. This is looking from the main road from the south facade. Here's one looking essentially from the shopping center entry. So this is looking northeast. You can see the small tellers, ATM teller and drive-through lane with a canopy over top. This is looking kind of southwest from the entry drive inside the shopping center. This is the lane entering into the drive-through lanes. Here's a closer-up shot from the front facade. This is standing in the landscape buffer between the road and the exit from the ATM drive-through lanes. And here's another shot. As you can see, the ATMs have a small canopy over top of them and the drive-through lane. I'll flip through the color elevations. As you can see in the landscape plan, we have sufficient buffering. We're maintaining majority of the existing trees on site and supplementing them with new trees around the building area. Here is the monument sign that's being proposed. I believe the current one is too close to the entry drive and the existing sign across the west side of the entry lane, so the new one will be shifted further to the east, more in front of the building. These are some of the signages that'll be around internal to the site for directional signage. And lastly, I'd like to conclude that the project meets or exceeds all of your land development code requirements for the development of the site. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Appreciate you walking us through this. Any questions from the council on this item?
I just have one for Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jeff, in terms of the parking lot lighting that we may or may not give use after 11 PM, is that compliant with the town's lighting ordinance in terms of parking lot lighting?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So they want to keep the parking lot lighting on to support the ATM. Is that lighting in compliance?
Not after 11 PM.
That's not what I mean. The style and type?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes, it is.
Good. So it's not, nothing's going up, it's all going down?
Correct.
Okay. Is there something that would compel us to grant you the extension past 11 o'clock?
I have a representative from the bank here.
Sure.
To answer questions.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Daniel Bowman. I'm the real estate director for Fifth Third Bank. I'm here from Daytona Beach. I can give you the address.
Can you lift up the mic just a little bit?
I'm here from Daytona Beach.
Thank you.
1030 East International Speedway Boulevard. So the ATM illumination is required, obviously, for theft, and so we can't have burglars kind of lurking. So that is a requirement to operate the ATMs, past the 11 o'clock hour you guys have.
But why should we allow, if we turn it off, it's gone, there's no more concern with robberies or anything like that. If the lights are off and the ATM is shut down, there's no potential for crime at that point. Why should we allow it to stay on past 11 o'clock?
A great question. Yes, I understand you. It is a convenience we like to provide to our customers. Not familiar with the other competing banks in the area if they're open past 11, but we do have quite a few customers, mostly people in the gig economy industry, and so it's a location for them to come deposit, do their banking when they're getting off hours. The same thing also rings true for the first lane has a night depository drop that also needs to be illuminated. Those are for our business owners. Instead of taking their cash home with them, it gives them an opportunity to deposit that at the bank before they have to take it to their home. So it is a service we do like to provide to securely allow them to bank after working hours.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
I got a couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Councilmember Hartman. That was my second question. Is this facility going to be using the same access point to the exterior roads as Bank of America?
Yes.
Okay. And then this one, just want to ask it, where's the nearest closest branch?
So we're actually expanding into the community, and so we are looking to build a number of new consumer banks in Palm Beach and Broward County. Right now, we have the next bank, Miramar Square, quite a few miles to the southeast. We will be at Flamingo Pines a little bit to the south, and then Cleary and Nob Hill to the north.
Okay.
That's basically the network directly surrounding this site.
All right. Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to follow up a little bit, if I could, on Bob's question. Are there any residential units close by for Southwest Ranches?
No, not within the town.
What is close by?
Other commercial, south of Sheridan Street, there's residential, and there's residential west of 160th.
But right there where the lights would be in the parking lot, that's Publix, that's all that area through there that, do they have lights on at night?
I don't know what they do in practice, but they're not supposed to.
Yeah, right. But there's no homes from Southwest Ranches that would be affected by that? By the lights?
Correct. The nearest homes in Southwest Ranches are thousands of feet away.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have control over the stop signs and stuff like that around on that plot of land? The traffic signs?
Within the boundaries of our site, we do, yes.
Okay, I don't know if this is in or right out of the boundaries, but right as you pull in off of Sheridan and you go up to the first intersection, you have to drive it to understand what I'm saying.
Right.
Stop sign is about 20 feet over this way, so you don't see the stop sign unless you live there and you know it. And you go right through, and it's a four-way stop.
Yeah, that's,
So is there any chance of moving that stop sign closer to the curb where people actually see it?
that's actually the part of the shopping center. It's not within our.
But you could put
property.
that request in, couldn't you?
We could talk to them, the owner.
And if you drive it, you'll understand what I'm
I
referring to.
understand. I mean,
because
as you can see on.
I've seen too many people run it and, collisions.
Yeah, as you can see on the screen, there's a large radius there
Right.
for, I assume.
And
trucks
it
to
it needs
turn.
about,
Yeah.
needs to be moved about 20 feet over,
Yep.
so,
Yeah, we can inquire and see if the shopping center would let us move it over.
okay, thank you.
Great. From a drainage standpoint, is all the water for the property retained on the property, or is it connected to other drainage?
There's a master drainage system for the entire shopping center, which we have a connection to, and we do dry pretreatment within our parcel, and then anything beyond that, the first half inch, does then go into the drainage system to the retention areas located elsewhere
Okay,
within the
thank
site.
you.
Is that what those catch basins that are indicated on your plans are rooted to?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
All right, any other council questions? I'm going to open it up to the public if they have any questions. Is there any public comment on this item? Yeah, come on up.
Marianne Allen, Mustang Trail, a longtime resident. I'm worried about making concessions because when we start with one, then somebody else asks and somebody else asks. And if we have a policy of no lights after 11, I think you should stick with it, okay? Because then the next development, well, you did it for him, why don't you do it for us? And we kind of have to draw the line somewhere in this town. We're a nice little town. We want to stay that way. We want our dark skies ordinances to be followed as much as possible for our wildlife, because we are a wildlife refuge area. And I would prefer if you don't make concessions, okay? And no good things happen after 11 o'clock. If you don't have money before then, you don't need to be out at 11 o'clock unless you've got a hookup or something, okay? Thanks.
That's a,
It's going to be hard to follow, but is there any public comment in addition to that? Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yeah.
do have one more question
Yeah,
for the
go ahead.
representative. It just occurred to me. Do you folks have a recycling program for your refuse, your garbage?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, because we are really promoting recycling. You're up in Daytona, we're under a threat of an incinerator. And one of our goals are to promote recycling to avoid this incinerator being put on our back door. So I would really like to make sure you folks encourage recycling for our community.
Yeah, I would say the bank is very energy-minded. moving
It's
forward. So
energy.
I would safely imagine they do have a recycling program, I just don't know.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, sir, if you don't mind. This one will probably bring in a little levity. My kids have always asked me this. What does 5/3 mean? What's the meaning behind that on the bank?
I know that.
Every time we drive by, Dad, do you know?
It was Fifth National Bank of Ohio and Third National Bank in Cincinnati. They came together.
Oh,
became Fifth
so it was
Third.
two different banks.
It's two different banks that came together.
Okay.
Run by mathematicians.
Yeah, and we're always trying to be a Fifth Third better, so.
Okay, thank you.
I always thought you guys were just trying to be cute.
All right. Any other
Yeah.
comments?
So Mayor, we looking at the changes that Jeff said, the minor changes that needed to be done, they have agreed to those. So our thing would be the light is something that we would change, and all the other stuff would be part of the proposal that they've agreed
Yeah,
to.
yeah, I would say so. And I'm just going to weigh in on it here, having worked in banking for a long time, majority of my career. And also, I'm concerned mostly, primarily, honestly, for the residents that would be coming through there. I am uncomfortable having an ATM and especially a drop box where there could be a large amount of cash there and individuals driving up with no lights. I think that's a very, public safety comes first. I appreciate that we don't want to make an exception, and I recognize that. But the public safety of somebody at the end of the day, and it's not uncommon at all, I owned my own business for 11 years as well, and I did it many times myself, is, you close down the business at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and you want to get rid of that cash as fast as you can, and you drop it off at the bank. To have that drop box with no lighting, I think is not a wise move.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Mayor, having done it for many, many years,
you go.
and until we hired an armored car company
Yeah.
to do the pickups. It was never fun driving home because you
No.
didn't know what you were going to run
Exactly.
into at the drop-off, stuff like that. I think this is the exception to the rule, for safety purposes.
I agree, just based on a public safety issue. So do we need to amend the motion to include that, or is that already in the motion as it is?
That's not part of the staff recommendation, and I don't think, was that part of your motion, Jim?
I made the motion.
I don't think it was, but it could be.
Yeah, okay. I don't think it was part of the motion. I think it was part of the staff recommendations. So if you wanted to address the lighting, I think you need to add that.
Who made,
I
who
need
made
to-
the motion?
I
need
thought
to
I made the
amend-
Yeah, I
motion
think
to
you did.
discuss it, and
I
then make the
second.
motion to approve.
I made the motion to
This is-
approve.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay,
But now I need to amend it
right.
so that the lighting can stay on
Okay.
beyond normal hours.
All right, so you amended it, and who's the second?
A second, and I'm okay with it.
You're okay with that? All right, so we've amended the motion. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none?
Sorry, Mayor, just before the vote, we have to do any disclosures, if there were any, since this is quasi judicial. It just needs to be done prior to the vote.
Nothing from me.
None?
Nothing.
No comment to anybody.
None.
Thank you. Can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes,
Item passed.
thank you. Great, thank you. All right.
There goes the audience.
We have a very special proclamation this evening. David, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you. Let me, or Jim, I'm sorry. I just want to thank you, Jim, for identifying this, bringing it forward to us, and this is an incredibly special proclamation, and thank you for doing that, and thank you for taking over.
Mayor, if I could, is Ms. Phyllis here? Oh, she's here now, okay. She was on her way back, and we were hoping that this might run a couple minutes later, so she is here. It was brought to our attention here a few weeks back that some of our centers here, equestrian centers here, were going to the Olympics, and one in particular, which is Zen Elite, was going to the Olympics. They have 2 riders and horses that are there currently to represent the town of Southwest Ranches. I think that's phenomenal. I've spoke to Ms. Phyllis, I spoke to Ms. Humphrey, and I had text messages with the 2 riders. And Channel 7 did a special a few days back. If we could pull that up, I'd like to see that. And then we have a presentation from the 2 riders also, if we could.
Great, thank you, Jim.
Equestrian, Florida, Florida athletes. Are ready to grab the reins and they're ready to go for the gold. Equestrian, Florida, South Florida athletes are ready to grab the reins and they're ready to go for the gold at the Paris Olympics coming up.
And one woman has helped make them the main attraction. Heather Walker has their story in the 7 Spotlight.
These horses and riders aren't playing around. Every step, trot, and spin come after years of hard work and training. It's part of an equestrian sport called dressage, and 2 of the country's best riders come from South Florida.
I think it's an incredible journey to be a part of.
Adrian Lyle and Endel Otts are 2 of only 4 dressage riders from the U.S. who will compete at the upcoming Olympic Games in Paris.
To be able to go to the Olympics and, be here, it's a dream come true.
Adrian and Endel train throughout the year at the Zen Elite Equestrian Center in Southwest Ranches.
This horse's name is Lars.
Zen owner Heidi Humphreys had been expecting to send a team to the games in 2028, but Adrian and Endel were ready this year. So Heidi had to find and buy the right horses and get them competition ready in just a few months. She struck gold with Helix and Bohemian.
It usually takes years to develop a horse and to partner with a horse, to become close with the horse and to develop a trust with the horse. And our riders were able to do it just really quickly. It was amazing.
Riders like Adrian and Endel make the sport look easy, but it's actually very complicated.
It's a little bit like figure skating, but with horses.
And just like figure skating, dressage involves some complex choreography. A rider has to be able to guide the horse through certain movements in order to score points from the judges.
And they judge you on a score from 1 to 10. When it's done really well, it looks super easy. It basically should look like the rider doesn't do much.
But in order to be successful, a rider must gain the horse's trust.
But it takes a long time to build a repertoire of understanding between the horse and rider to execute these sophisticated movements.
While this is Endel's first time competing at the Olympic level, Adrian will represent Team USA for the 3rd time. And she says the pressure is just as intense, especially because she's riding a horse she's only had a few months to train.
This is a new horse for this year. We had to get together and kind of match up and learn to speak each other's language in a relatively short amount of time.
As the countdown to the games continues over in Paris, over at Zen Elite, the excitement and pride is growing.
I feel like they already won. I feel like they already won because of where we're at in such a short period of time. I feel like just going to the Olympics at this point is a win for us.
And no matter who wins the big competition, Heidi says Zen Elite will always be home to some world-class athletes. Heather Walker, 7 News.
So, Mayor, if I could read the proclamation, would you be able to cue those 2 at the end, if you would? Thank you. All right. Proclamation, 2024 Paris Olympics. Zen Elite Equestrian Center Adrian Lyle, and Endell Oates. Whereas the equestrian lifestyle has been a central focus of the town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, since its incorporation on June 6, 2020, and whereas Zen Elite Equestrian Center has been an integral part of the town since October 2020, providing an excellent training facility for equestrians of various age, and whereas 2 horses and their riders from Zen Elite Equestrian Center have been named to the United States Dressage Team for the 2024 Games in Paris. And whereas Adrian Lyle, a Tokyo 2020 Team Dressage Olympic silver medalist on Salvino, has been with Zen Elite Equestrian Center for 4 years and will compete with Helic, a 12-year-old Dutch-bred chestnut gelding, and whereas Endell Oates, who has been with Zen Elite Equestrian Center for 4 years, will make his Olympic debut at Paris 2024 with Bohemian, a 14-year-old Westphalian chestnut gelding who competed at Tokyo 2020 with Catherine DeFure, finishing 4th individually. And whereas the 2024 Paris Olympics opening ceremony begin July 26, 2024, and the equestrian events begin on July 27, 2024, through August 6, 2024, and whereas the town of Southwest Ranches is extremely proud that these riders and horses will represent the United States and the town of Southwest Ranches in the 2024 Paris Olympics, and we encourage all residents to watch these events and to cheer on our hometown representatives. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the mayor and town council of the town of Southwest Ranches do hereby congratulate and recognize Adrian Lyle and her horse Helic, and Endell Oates on Bohemian, and Zen Equestrian Center, Elite Equestrian Center, this 25th day of July 2024. We actually reached out to the writers, and they were able to send a short video. They are in Paris.
It's good, because that's where they want to go.
Hi, I'm Adrian Lyle. I wanted to say a huge thank you to the town of Southwest Ranches for this incredible honor. Thank you for cheering us on as we head into the 2024 Paris Olympic Games.
Thank you, Southwest Ranches, for cheering Adrian and I, and Bohemian and Helix on. It's really an honor.
So, Ms. Phillips, if I could have you come forward. Town council, would you join with me?
Absolutely.
Go down and we'll take a picture.
See from the road, it's a beautiful facility. Yeah.
All right, that's exciting. Next item, public comment.
Yes, Mayor, we have two speakers tonight. The first one up is Mary Ann Allen.
Marianne Allen, Mustang Trail. And I was actually going to say thank you so much because the signs went up this week. You're entering an equestrian area. Slow down. And I'm so proud of this town for that. These are big, bold, beautiful signs.
Great.
And having been an equestrian here in Southwest Ranches for over 30 years, this makes me so proud. You know, we were that close to losing all our farms, all our equestrian areas. They've been chased out. And this council is the most proactive in keeping our rural and equestrian lifestyles, and we'll talk to that during the board report. What I wanted to talk about tonight, and it's really important, we have 2 redundant advisory boards, which we don't need 2, which is on the zero waste. We've lost track of the site that we need a stop incinerator task force, and we have no signs out saying stop incineration. We don't have any billboards. We don't have any outreach to get the public engaged. You talk to most people, they go, what incinerator is coming? So we need to put our money up a little bit and get some signage out there, whether it's at the entrances of Flamingo and Sterling, all the way through the town, maybe at every entrance to the homeowners to each development, but let them know, stop the incinerator, because without the protection, like what we're trying to do is stop it, we're going to have poisoned air, poisoned water, poisoned soil. My horses won't be able to graze on the grass. So this issue is really important. And our mayor has really stepped up to the plate. He has moved the needle with the Solid Waste Authority. We can ill afford to lose your voice on that board, okay? And more than anything else, more than friendship, we have to vote for what's right for this town, and we cannot have incineration, please. Thank you for all your support with that, and hopefully we'll get a stop incinerator task force going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, next up is John Grotti. And final speaker is Debbie Green.
Good evening, gentlemen and Debbie. I wanted to change how I usually intro. My name is John Garotti. I live on 162nd Avenue in Southwest Ranches. It's been quite an interesting few weeks out there in the world. I hope we all take a moment and reflect upon the last few weeks, especially in national politics, that always somehow spills over into the local elections here in our town. We got to respect each other. When it comes to signage, when it comes to just rhetoric in general, you know, we have to understand that especially if it's nonpartisan, we're all neighbors, whether it's 20, 30 blocks away. We don't have to like each other, but we have to respect each other. It's just important. Mrs. Parrish had some vandalism on her signs, and those things aren't cheap. They're expensive. I buy them, and it hurts when you write checks and somebody just destroys something just because they don't like what you say. That's horrible. That's not how our country works. Another thing I wanted to say, oh, I can't hear myself. Sorry. I forgot to greet my wife. Love you, Loudy. How are you? I'll be home soon. One thing I do hear over and over is many, many failed campaign promises by some of you guys that are sitting up here. I wasn't a part of any of that, but that's not something that should be done. You promise something, do it. You know, I come from the used car industry. Imagine the reputation that we get. You promise something and they don't get it. And you look like a fool, but you can't do that. You know, these folks are counting on you. They're counting on your representation. That's all people want, is to be represented, not to be, you know, gone after just because they have an opinion. That's just not how it works, especially in a 7,000 resident town. It's just, it's not our character. Let me see where I left off here. Another request many folks are seriously asking for is debates. Guys, we gotta have this. I mean, whether it's here in a private setting, I got an email. Let's give a shout out to the women's club, the ladies of Southwest Ranches. They want to do something so we can all get some questions asked. You know, we don't have that voice out there. I mean, some people are on Facebook, some people are not. Some of the admins are cool with it. Some of them block, some of them accept fake profiles. That's just not. Let's do something proper so everybody can know who we are. some of us are running, some of us are not, but there's a lot of sentiment out there that if you speak up, you're going to get retribution. You're going to get an email from the legal department. That's not necessary. That's just not why this town was formed. I know that there's residents on here that have been here way longer than me. I moved in 2001, right at the beginning. And that's not what this was intended for. This was intended for everybody to live, let live, and be happy. And raise your families, have your small businesses, have your equestrian centers that are now going to the Olympics, Huge shout out to Jim for finding out about those horses and the equestrian center. That's incredible. Good job for that, Not everybody knows what we have in our little town. But 30 seconds, I promise I'll be short. I never ask for much.
Hurry up.
Okay, I mentioned the debates. What else? No more intimidation. We need to create that harmony amongst each other to create a healthy and prosperous community for all to enjoy. What else? Another thing, very important. Why are we taking down the YouTube videos of council meetings as soon as we leave? Before, we would leave, everybody would watch it, talk about it over dinner and drinks. Now they go up 10 days later. That's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Debbie Green is the final speaker.
Debbie Green, 5201 Southwest 199th Avenue. I just wanted to address, there is a zero waste advisory board. The purpose of that advisory board is to help in advising the town, just like the drainage board or the comp plan board, in the town's direction to follow more zero waste initiatives. So we become more green, we reuse, we recycle the right way. That's the purpose of that advisory board. There is the Zero Waste Broward Task Force, which that entity's purpose is to stop the incineration, is to bring the attention. We need the help of everybody throughout the county. And we just started with the residents of Southwest Ranches. This has been going on for I don't know how many months. And some days, some meetings, we have that meeting once every month. Some days the chambers have been full. Others we have, maybe 10, 20 people here. But we have people from other cities throughout the county, but we need to keep growing it. At the upcoming meeting on August 14th, which will be here at the town of Southwest Ranches at 7 p.m., the newly hired executive director for the Broward Solid Waste Authority, he invited our invitation to be our special guest at that meeting. So this is the opportunity so he can hear firsthand, not from Broward commissioners what the people of Broward County want. This is our opportunity, and it's not just us. So all of us have friends in Davie, in Weston, in Cooper City, in Pembroke Pines, in Miramar, wherever they are. This is the meeting. We need to tell them they need to show up. He needs to see firsthand and hear from everybody that we don't want any new incineration or waste to energy in Southwest, in Broward County, right. But more importantly, right adjacent to Southwest Ranches. And so the purpose, that task force, that's only purpose is to oppose incineration. You can't only just oppose incineration. So in that group, they also do speak about some zero waste initiatives, because you can't just say, I don't want it, without having some options to steer, well, we can't have incineration, but maybe we can do this. And that's how we can start diverting from burying and burning. So, and then real quick, as far as the, ever since this town was formed, there's always been a president's council that always organized a candidates forum before every election. The president's council has talked about it. There is a candidates forum that is being planned. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, in this year, campaigning started so many months early. So it has been talked about. There is a candidates forum that's planned, but to be done later, maybe in into September. Everyone's back from their summer vacations. Everyone's back to school, and and as you get closer to an election. So I keep seeing all over Facebook and here and there, but there has not been an election where there hasn't been a candidates forum that's been presented here at Town Hall.
Right, thank you,
All right,
Anita.
thank you.
Thank you.
That
Any other-
concludes
Conclude
public comment, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Appreciate the public comment. Any board reports tonight?
Obviously, there's been some discussion. Jim Lasky, 5780 Southwest 188th Avenue. There's been some discussion on how we're approaching this and the results we're getting. And of course, I do things a little bit different than most people, but I've got a business plan. The business plan is...
Jim, what board are you representing? Are you representing the...
Broward Stop Incineration Task Force, the new name.
Oh,
Okay?
Thank you.
We got to get serious. We've got a plan now, a working plan we can start tomorrow. All we have to do is get some information out, get a little money like Debbie suggested, or Richard suggested, and we got 50 miles away from here. We can take all the yard waste, and soon we could probably get an organics permit to speed up the breakdown of the yard waste, and it's expandable. It is expandable throughout the whole state. That whole area up there is short of black dirt or topsoil. You see 18-wheelers in cane fields that are running alongside of harvesting equipment that need more soil. What they do is they push it over to the side, get down to the cap rock, and then they farm a certain area with the dirt that they got. But theoretically, all of them could take that. Sir, what? Okay, anyway, that's my story. I've got all the information in case anybody's worried about it. And by the way, Bergeron is not set up to do anything but burn over on US 27. You can't grind that trash with a grinder that close to US 27. So we anticipate that should there be an emergency, he's going to get prior authorization, which he should be doing before the storm, and the emergency management decides what's going to happen, not Bergeron. So that clause that you allowed in that contract the other day is going to result in burning should we have that situation happen. This plan that I've got, we want to incorporate the people from the sugarcane industry to come down here and transport some of this material out of here. It's only 50 miles. Anyway, that's what I got.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Town Administrator, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to give you an update about my trip to Brasilia, the capital city of Brazil, from June 21st to the 28th. I attended and participated in an international zero waste congress, which had 400 speakers from Brazil and South America and 60 international speakers from around the world. I was the only one that represented Florida. All of whom came together at the biggest zero waste conference in the world to date. Brazil is seeking solutions to the treatment and disposal of its urban solid waste. One of the possibilities that sometimes arises with great propaganda and presenting itself as a miracle solution is incineration. At this international conference, it was demonstrated the inadequacy of this alternative for its society, taking into account environmental, economic, political, and social aspects, as well as the alternative to destructive disposal model, which is zero waste. Burning has always been a magical obsession since ancient times. However, considering the large volumes of waste we currently produce, the environmental damage from burning is clear. Among them is the great toxicity generated by gases released into the atmosphere, such as furans and dioxins, which are highly carcinogenic, which become part of the air that we breathe. Linda A. Bimbaum, researcher and for more than 10 years, director of National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, working mainly at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, stated, based on her studies, that dioxins and furans are some of the most toxic chemical substances known to science. But it's all right, as we can always trust the filter engineering and dealers' ethics. We cannot. It is imperative, given the global emergency that the world faces right now, that every local community, municipality, county, state, and nation adapt to the needs of the environment and our human society in a manner that reduces consumption and waste on a scale that we have all been participants in one way or another. We need to make a commitment immediately to adopt zero waste policies, programs, initiatives, robust recycling and composting, and not worsen the impact on climate change by abandoning, incinerating, and landfilling garbage. We must change how we think about trash and start treating it as a recoverable resource that can be put back into circulation to help create a circular economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. So yeah, come on up. I just want to be clear that, please represent the board you're talking about. We should only have one representation per board, so just want to make sure we're clear on that. I'm not sure where we're at, but I know this is a different board, so thank you.
Harold Gumnitsky, Zero Waste Advisory Board, as we talked about. And as we talked about, its mission is to advise the council and to bring knowledge and such, and to just continue the overall education. So I would really make this short, sweet. August 6th is when our next Zero Waste Advisory Board is. I recommend and suggest that everyone attend that wants to participate in that and learn. We will be talking about some technologies and hopefully showcasing some of that so that we all can continue to learn and how to avoid and continue down the zero waste path and avoid the trash and all the things that we're doing here. So it's all aligned with the mission, aligned with the mission to stop the incinerators in support of that. So look forward to talking to anyone after this or certainly during that August 6th right here. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Town Council. George Morris on behalf of the Southwest Ranches Park Foundation, a.k.a. Astronite Foundation. Just want to mention a few things going on with our board. Our car show and chili cook-off is going to be next year. Unfortunately, in the past, we've had it this year, but due to the carnival, we're going to roll it over, and it's going to be a great time of the year. It's going to be February 22nd. So mark your calendars for that on the 2025. And the carnival's coming up fast, approaching in about 5 months or so. Coming around the corner. The carnival is going to be held, obviously, at the park, Southwest Meadows Park Sanctuary. It's going to be on January 16th through the 20th over the Martin Luther King holiday. So looking forward to that again. Last several years, or 3 years, as a matter of fact, have been a great success. If anybody's interested in participating in the carnival, vendors, etc., they can contact us through our website, which is swrcountryfair.com. Again, swrcountryfair.com. Also, bingo. Our previous bingo game we had about 2 months ago, I believe it was a great success. I know I saw a lot of you people out there. We had a full crowd. We're going to be doing it again this year, September the 14th. So get your tickets early. We'll be posting information, etc. Again, it'll be bingo, food, fun, prizes, games. We had a really good time, really good turnout last time. Another thing I'd like to mention on behalf of the Southwest Ranches Park Foundation is at the Rolling Oaks Barn, we unfortunately had one of the 3 major trees, oak trees in front of the barn, being struck by lightning. So we've come up with an idea. We're trying to get the tree carved into some sort of statue, owls, horses, whatever. We're going to have the art. We're going to involve the arts board. We're trying to do something to salvage at least the trunk of the tree and do something creative. You may see me back in the future asking maybe for some funds if we could match something with the Astronite Foundation, because it's an essential part of the barn, and we'd love to see some sort of art out there. So that's an idea that we're working on. I'll be able to report back to you with regards to that. And finally, the trees that we cut back last year for the carnival have come back. Everybody's seen them. It's a beautiful green area. People see the market. I'm very happy to see the trees were cut and have come back nicely, and hopefully we can maintain them and keep them low, and it's beautiful. So I want to thank the town council for that. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, George. Any other board reports? Mary Ann?
I guess I'm going to be the agricultural liaison for a while, and I want to congratulate our mayor, Russell, Richard, and myself, actually, for being proactive to saving our farms, which is inclusive of horses, nurseries, all of that. And people don't realize how important those green spaces are. And in order to let you know how important that is, just last week I went to a new client with several horses in Boca Raton. It's called Horseshoe Acres. And it originally was developed as an agricultural preserve 30 years ago. And she's seen it completely change. Once they lost the nurseries, it was downhill from then. And also what happened when their council changed and their mayor changed, they're now getting developments. Right next to her, they want to build an indoor tennis court, huge, with a second story for office space next to her horse farm. So they're losing it. They're losing it horribly because their council is not proactive in saving their farms. And this is one thing I have to really give credit to this council, to Russell, to every one of you that is fighting to save our farms. It's so important. Why is green space important? Why are our trees important? You just have to look at Mumbai, which is in India, 40 degrees Celsius plus temperatures. But if you overlook them with the aerial view, solid concrete. They've cut down every tree. All it is concrete with roadways, and basically it's an oven. So we need our trees. We need our green spaces here. What's another reason for it? Percolating the water into the aquifers. How important are aquifers? You say, oh, we always got water. No, you don't. The Oglala Reservoir, which covers 3 Midwest states, was so deep they thought they would never run out of water. 3 states, it's the largest aquifer in the world. In 1950, they discovered it. They started tapping the water out of it. Well, guess what? They're down 1,000 feet and there's no more water. What's happening with our water the more development we get? We suck out the groundwater, right? Well, you start getting sinkholes and you start getting saltwater intrusion into our water. And our wells are going to be worthless once they are contaminated with saltwater. That's another thing our town is being proactive about. We do need to preciously guard our aquifer waters. So when I talk about agriculture, I'm talking about everything. Our trees, our greenways, keeping our farms. Farms don't cost money to the town. Farms save you money because they get far less in services than the taxes that they pay. The more development you have, you need more firemen, you need more police protection, you need more services, which raises the taxes for everyone. We have 455 farms left in Southwest Ranches with residents close to 8,000 people. Let's try to save those farms. Let's not drive them out. And that's what our agricultural liaison, which we are creating a position for, will help the town identify how we can keep these people here. Most people that have businesses here in nurseries, they don't want to leave. But when they lose their agricultural exemption because of certain reasons, then they're pretty much forced to leave. So we don't want to force them out. We want to welcome them here. We want to protect them and say, we want you here. And thank you again for all your work you've done, Steve and Russell. You've done an amazing job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, any other board reports? Seeing none. Any council member comments?
I'll go first.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. First, I have a list of things, but first thing I want to address was a comment by one of the speakers from the public about campaign promises and things of that nature. And I can honestly say with a great deal of pride that I kept every campaign promise I ever made, 100%, and I also added to it. Think about this, we're probably the only city in Broward County where we actually passed a zoning rule that decreased density. I mean, everybody else is increasing density. We did the exact opposite. When Circle S was formed, we closed virtually every loophole that they jumped through that we didn't even realize was there. Since I've been on the council, we have run a surplus budget every year into hundreds of thousands, in some cases over $1 million. So we have an impeccable record up here, and everybody has helped contribute. This isn't just me alone by any stretch of the imagination, and you'll see a little bit of that tonight when we get into the whole budget session with all of us going on. So I just wanted to address that it was it really wasn't an accurate statement.
Right.
At all, to be honest with you. I just want to mention that we have hazmat this Saturday at the barn from 8 to 2. Bring your stuff, put it in the back of your truck, car. You don't even have to get out of the car. And we have shredding there, right? TA, okay, got it. We have a photo contest going on for the Rural Arts Board. The pictures must be submitted by the 9th of September. It's proud of our town. The Flowmobile is back. It's going to be here on the 28th of August. Make an appointment with Deborah there at that end. We have recycling stickers if you need any. Need any for your recycling container back in the back here at Town Hall, and we have them out at the front if you need them. Talk a little bit about, people have mentioned it. This was on my list from 3 weeks ago, and I didn't get a chance to mention it. Candidates Night. This is I think this is the largest election group of candidates since we became a town, to be honest with you. I can't recall having 6 candidates for offices all at once. Usually there's one of them, there's a wash or something.
Right.
I was thinking that the term debate gets thrown around a lot. It's not really a debate. We've never actually had a debate. We've just had a series of questions that were given to each candidate, and they responded accordingly, and it wasn't a challenge like a true debate team. And one that worked out really well, and it was Bob's election from a couple elections ago, where we had a candidates night here, and we had the 2 candidates that day or two apart that would answer questions to anybody that came in and wanted to answer them, and we could hold them like one week, one race, another week, another race, and another week, another race, something to that effect. And that worked out really well, as I recall. I think that would be something that the public would be interested in showing up, and that way you could hear the views, and you could actually ask each candidate the question that's perplexing you, or what have you, or hey, why do you think this way, and blah, 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 whatever it is, for something like that. And it's benign. Usually we have the incumbent go second, and the newcomer go first in each race. And it worked out well. Everything was orderly. There was no shouting, disruption, acrimony, whatever you want to call it, because it was in a controlled environment and was held in this room right here. So I think, Russell, that I think that might be the direction. You can do a temperature check with my colleagues here, or if they want to say anything about it tonight. But I think we should set that up sometime in the near future, September, October, or over the 2-month period on something like that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was campaign signs. They are everywhere, and they are being misused. Just need to go over the rules. I want to reiterate it. If your house is on an intersection of 2 roads, you get to put out 2 signs, one on one side, one on the other. But it needs to be a road, not a driveway. Okay? Driveways don't count. They're not legally roads, all right? If you see somebody, and everybody's passing out signs, so the candidates really don't know where the signage is handed to their neighbor or somebody in another part of town where they're putting it. If it's over by a mailbox, chances are it's in the right of way, okay? And code is going to start picking them up out of the right of ways starting next week. So everybody here who's running needs to take a really good look drive around the town and take a look at your signs, because if they're in the right of way, they're going to be in that dumpster over the course of a week. So I would suggest that everybody, do that, take care of that for something like that, because there's a lot of people that don't know where the right of ways are and things of that nature. So anyway, that's coming up. And I had some questions from various neighbors of mine. There were some rumors running around concerning legal fees that were coming up. regarding that it was, I think the rumor was that legal team, our legal team is charging us $1 million a year, and we're paying for it. And after I wiped the smirk off my face and stopped laughing, I went out and got the real numbers, and I'm going to read them off just for the record. This is for the last 9 months. The total legal fees are $341,000 for the last 9 months. $108,000 was for professional services, $160,000, and I'm rounding, for lawsuits and prosecution, and $74,000 for code compliance lawsuits. So I just wanted to bring that all up right now, so, and set the record straight, because there's a lot of silly rumors running around out there, and I felt that needed some attention, to that. We have a great legal team, and you can tell when you're at the different hearings and the different court cases, they win, putting it mildly. So I will close with that.
Mr. Mayor, may I, Jeffrey Cohen, Luray
Jeff.
Road, may I
Jeff.
address
Jeff.
comments?
Jeff, hold on a
Councilman?
second.
Yes.
Hold on a second. Number one, you're out of order. Number two, I will allow it this one time, but if we did it every time, this whole meeting would be out of order. So 30 seconds.
With all due respect, Councilman Jablonski, you're quite ignorant of constitutional law as it relates to First Amendment protected political signs. Most of the content of the local ordinances are clearly unconstitutional. I would direct that your lawyer examine and research a plethora of federal, district, and circuit opinions on this score. Political signs deserve the highest protection under the Constitution, much greater than commercial signs, real estate signs, nursery signs. You can't treat political signs any more restrictive than any other sign. And you're quite incorrect to suggest that this town or any other town in this country can limit the number of yard signs placed on a yard. You cannot limit the time in which they're placed, the number of their placement. You're quite ignorant of this. And may I suggest you educate yourself before you suggest certain actions, because they're unconstitutional, and lawsuits will be brought if you seek to inhibit the exercise of people's First Amendment rights.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I really do appreciate the history lesson in legalese. The legal team has already given us an opinion on that.
Right. And I don't appreciate the insulting way that it was delivered either, Jeff, to be honest with you.
I purposely did not mention any names, did not mention any candidates, did not mention anything. You, on the other hand, chose to do the exact opposite.
Right.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Councilman, comments?
I'm glad good evening, everybody. I'm glad recycling was a topic that we spent a little bit of time on tonight. I want to go through some dates on that. I'm also going to talk about the budget season coming up. But I got some news in my regular meeting with Russell, I think it was last week, that year over year, we're actually recycling less in this town. Less. Our recycling has gone down. Now, I'm not sure what else to do. We've got two boards. One is fighting the incinerator, but it's still all about zero waste as the ultimate solution. And the other one is to advise the council on how we get a little closer to zero waste on an annual basis. So those are very active groups, and I know that their heart is in it, and they're trying to get the word out. On top of that, I mean, I've written articles. We've all communicated it out through various, the newsletter, DRW magazine that comes out monthly, and as well, the administration has been sending out both via, I believe, constant comment and as well on social media, all sorts of ways to improve and increase recycling in our town. What's the right answer here? I mean, are people so busy that the fact that yesterday and the day before were the two warmest days on Earth's history, as far as we know, for the, couple thousand years we've been really caring about these sort of things, because Antarctica is melting at an alarming rate. And anybody who doesn't think it's part of, the way we're dealing with our waste has got something else coming. But in any case, how do we approach this to our neighbors? How do we get people more involved? How do we get their garbage to be going into recycling? I mean, I'm up for any kinds of suggestions. And I know our friends that are really elbows deep in recycling and the zero waste process would love to hear from you as well. But Debbie mentioned a couple of dates that I wanted to reiterate. There was a little bit of confusion about our Zero Waste Advisory Board, which she properly said advises the town, advises us, advises the council on ways to improve our recycling. The next meeting is on 8/6. So if you have ideas, and I'm talking to YouTube land as well, of course, come on down and talk about it, because we need everybody's help. This is not, I thought, we'll put the word out and everybody's going to recycle, because recycling in my house, we put out far more every week than we do garbage. But clearly that's not the same, because I have neighbors that don't even put out the blue pail, even though I've had conversations. But our internal town-wide advisory board is on 8/6 here at Town Hall at 7 p.m. Then we also mentioned the incinerator task force, and I think it has a new name, but in essence, that's the group that's fighting the incinerators that they'd like to put in our backyard here. Just as important as our own recycling, because, if they get if whoever they are end up getting to put an incinerator, the county commission maybe, right in our backyard, recycling will be the least of our problems. I mean, that to me is just as big of an issue. That is on August the 14th, and as Debbie mentioned, and I still don't know the fellow's name, but the executive director of the Solid Waste Authority is going to be a guest of ours. So again, perfect opportunity to come and speak your mind to this guy. Show up a few minutes early, and I'm sure he'll be here. And if he's buttonholed by about 200 residents that show up, I think it'll make an impression on him that we're not for. So, like I said, I'm up for any new ideas on how we can encourage our residents to recycle more and really get with the program, because I'm worried about my grandchildren. All right, so that's the recycling side of the discussion. Also, as everybody's aware or may not be aware, annually we have our budget cycle, which is coming to a close. We have 3 meetings that are critical. We have our budget workshop meeting on August the 13th, and the workshop is really where the rubber meets the road. That's where we're already working with our finance director. We're already working with the administration on how to spend money next year based on the expected revenue. That's really the meeting where we'll be making not the final decisions, but the preliminary decisions on where the money will go. And that's really where the give and take occurs. If you show up to the 2 budget hearings after that, a lot of it, of course, everything is subject to change up till the last meeting, but a lot of the point behind it, the purposes, the way we're modifying the budget, the way we're looking at using some of our reserve funds, which is money that's accumulated over a couple of years from budget reserves. That's all discussed, and we really go through that on the meeting on August the 13th. And I know there's a bunch of meetings around that. The next day is the solid waste meeting, so just be aware on the 13th of August is the budget workshop. Then we have 2 public hearings, because again, we have to set these in law, so we have to have 2 hearings on it, and that's the way the budget process works. The first budget hearing is on September the 12th, and I believe that's in concert with the council meeting, Russell?
Date again? I apologize.
The first budget hearing is...
Yes, that will start at 6 o'clock, and then we start...
6 p.m. on the 13th, the 13th of August is our budget, our first budget hearing. Again, we will be discussing...
Councilmember Hartman, I'm sorry. August 13th is the budget workshop. The
Right.
first budget hearing is in September.
September 12th.
Right, correct.
Sorry, not to be confused. It starts at 6 o'clock, not 7 o'clock like our normal meetings. Our normal meeting will start right after the budget hearing is over. But the important thing is, we'll still be negotiating changes at that point. Our last one, which again, sometimes things do go to that last point because the administration has to get back to us on more data.
We may have some very, very fine tuning to do at that point, but the second public hearing will be on September the 26th, also at 6 PM. So if you're interested, a lot of people don't understand how the money is spent. They just think we're throwing away the money. I've heard that since I was sitting in the seats for years, but there's a whole process behind it, and those who think we're just throwing it away, it's fair to not agree with how we're spending it. I mean, that's the way our process works. But there's a very thoughtful process that we go through for 4 or 5 months, trying to understand where the town's needs are. I mean, if you looked at it 10 years ago, we weren't spending a dime on parks. And December's head pops right up. She's been asking and asking and asking, and finally we're getting to a point where the town's revenue source is getting large enough that without raising taxes, we can continue investing in our parks and some other areas now. So all that will be discussed across those 3 meetings. As well, if you want a copy of the budget book, I know that it's available digitally. So again, anything you need, if you want to come prepared, let us know. Call Town Hall, ask for the budget or the finance department, and they can give you and answer your questions as well. But if you're interested in this, or you want to understand how the town is financed and how the money works, this is the process. I've been watching it for over 20 years, and it's probably the most refined and the best it's been to date. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Bob.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. David Kaczynski, District 4. I want to thank everybody that has stuck around past the Zen Equestrian. That was a great presentation. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to begin with something that I learned a few days ago, and it's really troubling me that a resident on Thoroughbred Lane had his property with an ag classification. Another one has lost his ag classification. And this is more support that we need, that Mary Ann has brought about, and Bob is taking the reins on this as well. With this ag protection position here at the town, something that we can do to protect our agricultural properties. I'm in full agreement for the concept. I really want to see what we can come up with that, that we're losing another ag just because of some paper processing is really sad for our town. It's important that we protect these properties. Second, I'm going to ask legal department to give us an update on the P3 property. Is that okay?
Correct. I'll do that during legal comments.
Thank you. Next one, recycling. We're going back to the recycling. Everybody's talking on a different angle of recycling. My angle tonight on recycling has to do with contamination. We ran an ad. We got a PSA that we put together. We have the forms that you can stick on your recycling bin. But one of the things that's really missed out of there is what not to put in recycling. Pizza boxes. Those things contain oils, contaminates recycling. Plastic bags, styrofoam, the Amazon plastic bags. And the boxes are fine. Boxes, that's recyclable. But the little plastic bags, that's not recyclable. It clogs up the sorter. They have to shut it down, and they have to actually have 2 guys crawl in there with knives and spend over an hour trying to cut the plastic out of the sorter. And I recently learned that there were some vehicle issues out west, some burglary conveyance issues. And I don't know if this can be something, whether we can direct to the Public Safety Committee, the Temporary Public Safety Committee, or whether we can do it on our own, is whether we can put up a couple of extra LPRs on West Griffin to catch the folks out there, because I think that's a really, really important issue to have. We got the LPRs in various places in the town, but I had spoke with Russell, and he says that on West Griffin would be a place that we can actually put something in. We can record the vehicles going by out there. I know there was a discussion earlier about some kind of signs for the incinerator. I actually have been speaking with an artist that I went to high school with. She's a professional artist, and she's designing something up, and I'm going to present it, I guess, to the Zero Waste or one of the boards. It's no incinerators, basically all it says. And the quote I was given is $10 a sign, but it's full color. It's beautiful. So I'll present it, and if you want me to make changes to it, It's easy to be done. I just ask Dessa, she'll get to it. Remind folks that in the November ballot, in addition to the elections, we actually have some charter review amendments. There are several of them that were put forth by the Charter Review Committee that Marianne was, I guess, one of the people that are here that were on that committee. And there's another one that requires a 5-0 vote for any new proactive code enforcement issues. That's something that I support for that. I'm going to wrap up my comments with my monthly law and order report. I didn't do it at the last meeting. I had it, but just got overwhelmed. And it appears that since school has gotten out, the traffic citations have dropped. It's the only thing I can credit with the decrease. District 1, two citations issued. None of those were speeding. District 2, there were 11 citations. 7 of those were speeding, all on Griffin Road. District 3, 26 citations issued. 19 were speeding, 3 on interior roads. And District 4, always taking the lead on everybody, 64 citations, 49 for speeding, and 4 of those all on Sterling Interior Road. Mr. Mayor, that wraps it up for me. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you, David. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. David, the Safety and Traffic Board, we've got an excellent board. They are talking about more tag readers. There are several streets that lead out onto Griffin that aren't covered, and the Griffin area itself has very limited coverage on it. So they are looking at that to make recommendations back to the council to buy more tag readers. I think it'd be a great idea. The town's pretty well covered on the outskirts of the town. There's not too many ways you can get in without getting caught here or leaving. But once you're into town, there's some streets that aren't covered, so they are looking at that. And I think the recommendations that they come back with will be great. Some speed, new handheld speed radar things, new things for the police cars. So the board's really doing a fine job, and I see the mayor and everybody sits there. I think the board's doing a good job with that, so that'll be good. Real quick, I have a couple things real quick. The Broward County Office of Emergency Management, along with the Small Business Administration and the Florida Division of Emergency Management, they now have loans for homeowners, small businesses, agricultural businesses, dealing with the June 11th through the 14th flood. They're repayable loans. They're not just grants or whatever. They're repayable loans. They're setting up an office that'll be in the Hollywood area in the Oaks Lake community, and applications you can get. So if you want to touch bases with the Broward County Office of Emergency Management and see if you qualify for one of those small loans, it may be something that you overlooked, and it may be able to help you in the future. All right? And then lastly, I want to comment on a speaker that spoke earlier. You hear that we've got to all get along. You hear that we have to communicate with each other. You hear that we have to be respectful of each other. You heard that there are signs being taken down, thrown away. I've had my signs defaced, actually turned upside down, and thrown in bushes. Now, if that's being polite and friendly to each other, whoever's doing it in the community, that's not the way Southwest Ranches is run. Last election, oh yeah, I'm not saying that we didn't have a couple words here and there. In fact, the mayor and I had a couple words back and forth, but it was all done, all right, and it was over with. You didn't go out and mess with somebody's signs that cost a lot of money. I had an incident where one of my signs disappeared this past week. I saw the sign was gone. I asked the person that I thought moved the sign. They admitted the sign was moved, but it was done under the pretense of mowing someone's yard. And apparently they forgot to put the sign back because all the other 5 signs were in place, but mine was in the bushes where it could not be seen. So I confronted that, And, you know, I said 6 words the entire time I was there. You may hear different, but there were 6 words. Where's my sign? I repeated that twice. Wife touched me on the leg, said, let's go. We left. Probably about 25 minutes later, I got an email. I should read that email to you from this person, okay, that told me that I was blind in a sense, that my sunglasses were too dark, that I wasn't cognizant enough to realize that my sign was there, even though you couldn't see it. So about a half hour later, that person made a police report about me, saying that I was hollering and screaming and carrying on. I said exactly 6 words to him, and that's the only 6 words I've said to this person in 3 months. Where's my sign? I repeated it twice. Police came out and took a report. I found out that the police had taken a report, so they come and heard my side of the story. They actually went back down with me to find that sign. We had to look for it, but we did find it, and it was in the bushes. And I have pictures of that, all right? So let's be respectful of each other. Let's be respectful of each other's signs. They do cost money. And if you're going to move them, put them back. The other signs were all put back, except mine, all right? So all this talk about being brotherly, loving each other and stuff, let's do it. Let's just don't talk about it. Let's do it, all right? Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Jim. Well, I've certainly had my signs disappear as well. I think it goes with the season, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes. Respect is what we should have. That's what it comes down to. We, you know, at the end of the day, we're all the ranches, right? We're all here for basically the same reasons, so let's respect one another. We have different point of views on certain things. Let's be respectful. Respectful of one another's opinions, respectful of one another's property and the signs. Okay, a few items from, both from items that were brought up in public comment and some items I have for myself. The YouTube videos, I heard that come up, and I've heard that a few times. So the YouTube, the meetings are recorded, and what happens after that, and Russell, if I go astray, please correct me, but it goes up and then it comes down immediately, because what's happening is they are putting the intro on there. As you see, when you actually see the YouTube video, it's got the date and the time and the little emblem for the town on there and all that. So it cuts off all of the information before the meeting, which is important for a lot of reasons, that it's not part of the meeting. We don't want it part of the YouTube. And then at the end, the same thing. It gets cut off and it gets cleaned up. And a lot of times, since our meetings are Thursday night, there's a lot going on Friday. It may not get done until Monday. There's nothing nefarious about it. There's nothing that is being adjusted. There was one meeting where a piece of it was taken out because it was basically a protest in the middle of it. And the thought was that that was not appropriate. In the future, that's not going to happen. However, everything will be in there so you can see it start to finish, from the time the meeting starts to the time the meeting finishes. But everything beyond that will not be on there. So that's the cleanup. There's nothing nefarious. There's nothing being doctored in it. It's just being set up so that professionally it's out there and everybody can see it in the archives for whenever they want to watch it. For the candidate forum, I know there's a couple different ideas on how to do it. It's always a good idea to do it. I fully support it. I'll be there. I'll say that. I'll be there whenever it happens, whoever pulls it together. Historically, it has been done by the President's Council. I know I've organized a few of them. Bob, I know you organized some when we've all been presidents of different either HOAs or civic associations. So that's how we've done it in the past. But however it gets pulled together, it's a good idea. It's yet another way that we can get the message out to our residents for our differing viewpoints in a respectful way. So I certainly support that, and I will be there. I wanted to also bring up, tomorrow is the meeting of the SWA. we are meeting, which is the Solid Waste Authority, which is the group that's countywide that I'm on the executive committee for. That is a meeting tomorrow morning at 1 North University Drive. That's right at the corner of Broward and University on the northwest corner at 9 a.m. So if you can be there, we would love to have your voice there. We'd love to have your support there. We're building a great consensus there. I just got an email today, and it listed off the objectives that have been communicated to the team that is putting together the master plan. And number one on that list was zero waste priority. So believe me, the message is getting out there. It's really going well. We're building a great consensus there, and we're going to keep pushing hard. It's not over till it's over, but the progress that we've made is tremendous. So if you can be out there tomorrow at 9 a.m., that would be much appreciated. Jim, I know, Jim, you're there at almost all the meetings. I hope you'll be able to make that one. I'd love to hear you talk about your the research you've done for the group up in the middle of the state as well. I think I would love for the committee to hear that from you. You've done all the research on that, so I hope you're there. The LPRs, we do have an LPR out west, so we are catching the individuals, all the cars, the license plates of the vehicles that are coming in for the west on Griffin Road. But that is, there's a lot of places in town. Sunshine Ranches has limited access through, just a few roads. Volunteer and Sterling and Hancock. There's not a lot of ways in there, so it's very easy to put some strategic LPRs out there to catch the license plates. Rolling Oaks is fantastic. It just has the one way in, one way out. But when you go further west into Green Meadows, when you go into Country Estates, there's a lot more options for getting in and out of there. And so appreciate the work that the Safety Committee is doing. Appreciate, Jim, all the work you've done to pull that group together and get things in place. But I think that's one of the things that definitely we need to support, and we'll do some work on further out west with more LPRs out there. And then my last thing that I wanted to bring up is I just wanted to say that we have an amazing staff here in Southwest Ranches. And they are true professionals. They are individuals that do an amazing job. And I want to recognize Russell. This time he has gotten his certification as the Credentialed Manager certification, which is huge. It's a lot of work, and it's a big accomplishment. And so, Russell, thank you for the work that you've done, and that and all the work that went into this certification. So, thank you. Excellent. So with that, I will turn it over to legal.
Actually, Mayor, may I make a quick comment?
Sure.
To save everybody a bunch of work, I actually have drafted an article on the upcoming charter amendments. So that'll be in the next town newsletter. That way you don't write one and everybody else doesn't write one. And basically it's just explaining what they're about in Bob speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Just quickly to address the P3 issue, and this is an update Keith provided me. He said that a site plan's been submitted for approval of 2 buildings, but then they decided recently that it's more efficient to have 1 building, same square footage, but just 1 building, and that they still intend to close in the 4th quarter. So that's the current update that we have.
Great,
and that concludes legal comments.
Thank you. Administrative comments?
Thank you, Mayor. You caught me off guard with that, so thank you.
I like to catch you off guard. It's hard to do.
Just wanted to also advise you of one change related to state law. There's a state law change affecting towing companies. Their contracts effective July 1st. It allows the town to add an additional 25% surcharge as a pass-through to insurance companies, so it wouldn't burden town residents. But it would also generate approximately $14,000 in additional revenue for the town. So if the town was in favor of exploring this option to add that surcharge to our towing contract with A Superior Towing, we could do that, and that would obviously be passed on to the insurance companies. So if there's interest in doing that, just please let us know, and then we'll direct Keith to create a resolution to effect that change.
Okay.
That's one thing. The next thing, well, it's actually on the next item, so I'll wait till we get to the next item, I guess.
We're good?
That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, great. Item number 10.
This is an ordinance of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, amending the capital improvements element and adopting the 5-year schedule of capital improvements for fiscal years '24 to '28 pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Do I have a
Motion to
motion?
approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the item. Any discussion on the item? Seeing none, is there any public discussion on the item?
Trapped by it. Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. I'd like to say thank you for finally getting around to passing this, which was due to be passed back in January. And so we've got 3 months that this will be in effect now. August, September, and October. Well, actually August, September, because in October, process starts all over again. And Emil has to submit a brand-new 5-year plan to the comprehensive plan, which will be passed before the end of the year and sent to the council, where it sat on a shelf for 7 months. Let's not have that happen again. Let's get this passed in January and second reading in February or the first part of March, and put it into the comp plan where it's supposed to be, for all the developers and everybody else to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noel. Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment closed. Please call the item.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Item passed.
Thank you. Item number 11, please.
Item 11 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, entering into an agreement with Florida Power and Light Company for utilization of Southwest Meadows Preserve as a temporary staging area to enable emergency recovery operations following a mass power outage, authorizing the mayor and town attorney to enter into an agreement and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Just going to make a couple comments on this item. So this is an item that I know Keith has actually been working on for quite a while. I think it'll be something that'll be beneficial to our town. And basically what this is saying is that in an emergency situation, when FP&L, such as after a hurricane, when FP&L needs to get all their forces out to get power back to Broward County as a whole, what we're saying is that our facility there in the preserve will be available to FP&L to stage their equipment on. And they are all self-contained there. They don't need any supplies from us. They are committing to the fact that when they leave, that they will leave it in exactly or better condition than when they arrive. And this is obviously a very temporary situation while they're affecting the restoration of power to the county. We're anticipating, although they won't commit to it, we are anticipating that this will help us to have that equipment right close by. Certainly, we would hope that they would be able to service us a little quicker that way than if they're coming in from Palm Beach County, which is apparently what they would be doing without this. So this is a proposal to do this. We'll see how it goes, but I'm excited that I think it'll be a good, not only good for the ranches, but a good way to partner with FP&L and the county as a whole. Yeah, David.
Mr. Mayor, I just got one request. I mean, yeah, I support this. It's a great idea. But the issue concerns the use of our parks. And I just a firm believer of preserving. We've got advisory boards, and I think that anything concerning parks should be run through an advisory board, even if they just rubber stamp it. That's why we have Chris Brownlow at the advisory board, head of the parks. They got look at things for the parks. So just an issue. Hopefully it comes up through the parks board in the future.
Thank you. Good point. Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, the preserve's not a park.
It's just the 5 acres.
The 5 acres is privately owned, it's not part of the park.
Well, okay. You mean as far as going to the Parks Board?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I mean, it's a courtesy, I can get that with no problem, but I'm just saying it's not part of the park. We can't include that as part of the park.
okay.
I'm splitting legal hairs.
I think you're splitting legal hairs. Yeah, I think
I know
I
that,
think
but
a
I
lot
just
of
wanted to
things
point
that
that
we
out.
do there, whether it's the carnival or whether it's the
Yeah, no, I just wanted to point that
the-
out, that it's not part of Green Meadows.
it
One's sanctuary, one's preserve.
okay.
It's just a,
Yep.
just a comment.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mayor, this is the first reading?
It's a resolution, so it's the only reading.
It does be the only reading, I'm sorry, all right. The trees and stuff along the side that have grown back up, and we're going to look at something later on that may help this, so that the residents there, those 3 homes that are right there next to it, wouldn't be bothered by it, but I'm in favor of this, and there's another thing coming up later on that would help this right here that we'll come into, so, for those 3 residents right there.
Good.
It'd be all right for them.
Great. Thanks, Jim. All right. Is there any public comment on this item?
Hi, Carlos Cardozo, 180th Avenue. As far as FP&L is concerned, I don't have a problem with them, but a lot of FP&L is subcontracted. So is there some concern with subcontractors that might not be up to the same level as FP&L? Do you have any idea if there's subcontractors going to be parked there?
Is there any other comments? I'll answer that as soon as you're done. Okay. Any other public?
I believe Ms. Parrish just submitted something to talk on this item.
Okay, well, on any item, you don't need to submit a form. I open up to public, and you can come up and speak.
I got one little point to make. I think I remember a situation where one of the subcontractors damaged somebody's electricity in their house, and the guy happened to be a contractor, too, and he realized, or the town gave him a reply, something to the effect that you got to take it up with the subcontractor. Keith told the homeowner that very thing, because I think it was discussed here. So let's reflect on what that is, because these subcontractors, you don't know what's going on with those guys. I gave you a bunch of information not too long ago about how they were trying to fix a 25,000 volt cable in front of my house. I still have all the videos and the evidence on that. The supervisor for Florida Power and Light was a senior electrical engineer, but he was acting as a lead man. Well, that's some kind of garbage, okay? He's supposed to be acting as an engineer anytime he opens his mouth, as far as I'm concerned. And I think Rod would attest to that, too. You just don't try to play games and say, I'm going to be responsible for the electrical continuity of the supply cables and all that. These guys didn't even read the directions on their own repair kit that they had. I had a phone conference with them, and I asked them all. Epoxy does not set up in certain temperatures. Epoxy doesn't set up underwater. They had it underwater. You know where our water table is. So I suggest you make sure that you're covered with all the subcontractors, and they have to replace that, because you're going to be liable to have that situation.
Thank you, Jim.
Good evening, this is Lori Parrish. I live on the Ray Road. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I mean it sincerely. First of all, subcontractors, when we lost our electric, Pike Electric out of North Carolina came down, and they couldn't have been nicer. But what I thought is you might get some of the residents to offer our spare bedrooms to Florida Power and Light or their subs employees if they didn't have a place to stay, because maybe if they had to sleep in unair conditioning homes like ours, we'd get it done a little faster. And I know it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it's something to offer, because maybe we'd get them first. Anyway, just an idea. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I'll be brief. John Garotti, 162nd Avenue. That neighbor Mr. Lasky was talking about with that subcontractor issue lives on 162nd Avenue. I happen to know who he is. They destroyed all his appliances. But I ditto what David says. It's a good idea. I mean, it's not an official park, but run it by your boards. See what they say. Doesn't hurt, that's what they're there for. But let's see if they can add any input. Checks and balances with a subcontractor is never a bad idea. So it's a good idea, David, because, that's one of the reasons you have them. But thank you.
All right, great, thank you. So, so from a subcontractor standpoint, yes, there will be, FP&L is there, but you know how these storms work. You see utility vehicles from all over the southeast United States are basically coming down to assist FP&L in doing it. But the thing that I want to remind you is that they're not doing normal construction type work. They're there for only restoration. And so, and what we're talking about, FP&L in this contract, FP&L is taking the ultimate responsibility to say that on this property, it will be returned to us in the same condition or better than it was when they came on there. So they are definitely taking on that is that, all right. So I think we're good there. We're not talking about the work that they do wherever it is for the restoration. Obviously, we want them to do that as quickly and as rapidly as possible, professionally as possible. The idea here is let's do our part to have a place for them to be close by, and so it can, hopefully it'll get done faster for all of us. Hopefully that answered your question.
Can I just make a quick comment too?
Sure.
So I was concerned about, the new building, the new restroom we're planning on putting up. I could see that turning into showers and changing rooms and everything else, but we can keep them out of that. We can lock that and make sure. And according to what Russell was saying, this will be completely self-contained. They will bring their own showers.
It's totally self-contained.
Yeah.
They bring their own power, they bring their own showers, they bring their own food, they bring it's a little mini town.
Yeah.
Good. Where they're totally, they're assuming that they have no facilities wherever they go. Because frankly, there probably is no power wherever they go.
Yeah, one comment I'd like to make, probably being the only guy up here that's really dealt with it in real life situations, from Andrew through Wilma and Irma, we would be nuts to turn this down.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very good, even their subcontractors. Was no problems whatsoever, courteous. They were mostly gone during the day. They were just there at nighttime, and they would all pull in. The only thing I would say be cautionary on is the refueling, because they bring in their own gas. They have huge tankers that they bring in with the convoys that come down. If we have a Cat 5 hit us and something like that, that might be a cause of concern, with the groundwater. But they're usually pretty environmentally sensitive, to that kind of thing. But they do a pretty good job on the cleanup and keeping it clean. So just want to pass that along from past experience.
Good. Thank you. All right. Any other comments on this? Seeing none, if we can please call the roll.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Item passed.
Thank you. Item number 12, please.
Item number 12 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, entering into a cooperative purchasing agreement with Tetra Tech, Inc., based on the City of Tamarack Agreement to provide disaster recovery management services, authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to enter into an agreement and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the item. Is there any discussion from the council? Seeing none, is there any public comment on the item? Seeing none, if you can please call the roll.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor
Yes.
Kaczynski? Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Item passed.
Great. Item number 13, I don't know, do we need to read that into the record, or?
I think we should read it into the record, but I just want to say that staff is respectfully requesting that this item be tabled to allow the applicant some more time to refine the application and resubmit it for the next meeting.
Motion to table it?
Second.
Please. Please call the roll.
Would you like me to read it in first?
Oh, yeah, there we go. Good idea. These guys beat me to the punch to table it.
This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving the Neighborhood Safety Grant Award in the amount of $40,000.00 to the Circle S Estates Homeowners Association, approving a budget amendment to the fiscal year 2023-24 adopted town budget, authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to enter into an agreement and providing an effective date.
Motion to table.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Item tabled.
Thank you. Item number 14, please. Yes.
Can I make a request that the next three items, which are all related to the town budget, be read together and then allow the town financial administrator an opportunity to present?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah.
On the previous tabling, were we supposed to do a date certain?
We can, I mean, we have every intention to bring this item back. The applicant has every intention to be ready for the next meeting on August 8th, so we can list it, but
We
you don't
normally
have
need
to.
to.
You don't have, to. It's not required to.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so if you can please read those three items in.
Yes, sir. Item 14 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, setting the proposed millage rate and current rollback rate pursuant to Section 200.065 Florida statutes, and establishing the time, date, and place in which public hearings will be held to consider the proposed millage rate and the tentative budget for fiscal year 2025. Directing the town clerk to file said resolution with the property appraiser of Broward County pursuant to the requirements of Florida statutes and the rules and regulations of the Department of Revenue for the state of Florida, directing that a certified copy of this resolution be sent to the Broward County property appraiser and tax collector, and providing for an effective date. Item 15. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, relating to the provision of solid waste services, facilities, and programs to residential properties in the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, providing authority for solid waste services assessments, providing purpose and definitions, providing findings, incorporating the solid waste special assessment methodology report, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, providing for a 50% exemption for veteran service-connected total and permanent disability, authorizing a public hearing and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing for an effective date. Item 16 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, providing findings, amending in part Section 3 of Resolution 2011-84 by providing a new definition, incorporating the 2024 Fire Assessment Report, approving preliminary fire protection assessment rates relating to the provision of fire protection services, facilities, and programs in the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida for fiscal year 2024-25, providing for the imposition and computation of fire protection assessments, providing for an exemption for veterans with service-connected total and permanent disabilities, providing for legislative determinations of special benefit and fair apportionment, establishing the preliminary rates of assessment, directing the preparation of a preliminary assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of mailed and published notice thereof, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. Emil, if you can please provide a presentation on these items.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, staff, and public. We have a presentation ready for these three items. The same way we have always done it every year as we go through each one of those items. We're going to make a stop. Should there be any questions or suggestions or recommendations, you'll be working to address those at the time. It's important to let council and the public know that this is a not to exceed meeting. Is a rate on the proposed operating millage, the fire assessment, and the solid waste assessment. As this page indicates, we are projecting leaving the same millage as it was last year, and there's going to be a rate change increase on both the fire assessment and the solid waste assessment. Each one of those will be addressed as we get to each one of those items individually. As Council Member Hartman mentioned during his comments, this is the colonies actually that we operate under for the budget. This is where we are tonight, and the next meeting is going to be the budget workshop, which is one of the items very important for the public to participate and provide comments and feedback to council and administration. The first public hearing is going to be on September 12th, but that will be the final fire protection and solid waste special assessment adoption. And then we have the final one hearing on September 26th. This is a summary of what we are presenting to council and the public. We are proposing, as indicated on the first slide, the same millage rate as last year, no change. The fire assessment increase is estimated to be $34.51. That's about 5% per residential unit, compared to last year of $6.64. This year is going to be $603.39. Again, that's going to be listed on another slide. For solid waste, this is the average increase per parcel lot, and what this actually means is that we have a solid waste rate, and we also have tracks for the bulk waste, which is actually assessed based on the square footage of the lot. The average increase for both of those conditions is $83.16. This is an illustration as to indicate how do we get to the amount for total assessed valuation of the property for the town. We do have this information, contact information, in the town's website, a link that direct the public directly to the bcpa.net, which is the entity responsible for making this calculation. This is the historical trend of the millage rate. It has been going down, and we are keeping it exactly the same for the last 2 years. How do we get to this point? Well, we essentially has to look at how much funding sources, revenue the towns actually receive, what's the priority from council, and then we allocate those expenditures accordingly. But at the same time, we need to take into consideration what the projections might be going into next year and prepare the town accordingly. So based on that analysis and projections that we have seen, we have identified that what has impacted the town and the residents and the public in general is that due to the high interest rates, the spending has actually been reduced. And it is contemplated in the next, before the end of the year, one rate cut from the feds. That has actually been the longest time for the feds to keep the rate at this high. If that is taken into consideration also for the projections of our revenue, as this will impact our interest earning during the year 2025. We have been able to identify, based on level of service requirements, needs, and council directive and administration, some program modifications that are needed. There are 15 in total, and as some of the council member has mentioned, we are including, allocating a substantial amount of those funds to parks. The first one, I'm not going to go in detail as to each one of them. The first one is the administrative project manager. This is essentially the position that is being vacant, given the fact that the town administrator actually took that role, coming from a multi-role, being the town's clerk and also the assistant town administrator. And as we go along the next PMs, they're going in line with the millage that will actually be impacted should we actually adopt it. The remaining ones are listed in this page, in which the last two are associated to the volunteer fire department. It's important to mention that those two have no millage impact because they're funded through the fire assessment. That would take us to 12 capital improvement projects, which we are proposing to be funded. This I'm going to go into in detail on a few that I believe are very important for the residents and the town to know. The first one is the fire wells. We used to underfund based on projections on previous developments that we have. And we have decided that this is considered to be an emergency action item that requires attention should it happen. And we have identified in this coming year the need to replace a well, and it was well above the price that was actually anticipated from previous year. And just to be on the taking precautionary options, we decided to increase that amount to cover at least 2 wells on a given year should that happen. There's also a few capital improvement projects here associated that are funded through ARPA funds. One is the recently initiated Dykes Road project piping. We initiated the bid for that project. In here, it's also included the Southwest Meadows Sanctuary Park, Phase 1. Again, this is an estimated amount of $2.2 million, of which 57% will be funded through ARPA funds, 9% through grants, and a general fund, we're going to have to do a contribution of about 34%. That's going to have millage impact. The next 3 capital projects are associated to parks, and here we are pretty much funding invasive, exotic. There's 2 pieces associated to this project, one which is a capital and another one which is a program modification listed on the previous slide. One is associated to the other. Why? Because once we remove all the invasives, the acres corresponding to the town, then we have to maintain it in order not to get to this point where it is right now. And with this, we pretty much finished the last 4 of the capital improvement projects. I would like to highlight the third one here, which is the surface and drainage ongoing rehabilitation T-Store non-surtax. Why is that? We for the last few years, we have been funding T-Store by $295,000. Last year, during the budget workshop, the mayor and town council, through consensus, actually increased that amount to $450,000, which is what we were contemplating to do this year. Based on our projections of revenue, based on what we are indicating from Public Works and the town engineer, what can we do? We have identified a project for T-Store related that is about $1.5 million. Based on those funding sources that we have been able to identify, we are proposing to split that project into 2, which is why you see $752,080 on this capital improvement project slide. So this is a summary as to what do we expect from the millage rate impact. Well, no change to the rate. We're keeping it at 3.9, and that's even though we are increasing the level of services and the projects associated on the previous slides. What does this increase or not increase cent rate means for the residents? It's essentially a combined $158 increase if you compare that to the current year rollback rate of 3.5836, which is calculated on a yearly basis. And it's important also to know that no increases are expected for those Save Our Homes properties. This is the table of the millage associated to the town. Here, we indicate what the current year rollback rate is, what the impact to the town, should we go back to that rate, and the highlighted in yellow, which is what we are proposing, same millage, that would generate $945,000, and it would represent, as I indicated previously, an increase of $158 per resident. So with that, we conclude the portion of the millage rate. If there's any questions, we can address those questions now. If there's no question, we can move on into the next one, which is the solid waste assessment.
Any questions, comments at this point? Seeing none, I think you can proceed.
David's
Oh,
going.
yeah,
I just have one in case it
go ahead, Dave.
It may be a typo. Page 9 and 10 at the top, it says 10, but in parentheses it says 12. Is that a typo? At the heading at the top.
Yes, sir.
All right.
It's 15 in total. 12.
All right, thanks. That's it.
I have a couple of
Any
questions.
public comment?
Lori Parrish, Luray Road. The $158,000 is per $500,000 of taxable assessed value. How many homes in Southwest Ranches are assessed at under $500,000?
I don't have that information up on the number.
Well, I would suggest if you looked on the property appraiser's website, very few would be the number. So keep that in mind. And then I had one other question, because this is just on the millage rate. On the technology laptop replacements, $35,000, you just bought 15 laptops for $33,000. Are these 15 new ones? And did they go up $2,000 in just a few months?
Any other questions, comments?
Oh, that's just it. Oh, you don't answer them. Okay, thanks.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment closed. You have any comments about the price of the laptops?
Price of the laptops, they can and do go up. And so that when we went to go out to purchase new laptops last year, we did experience a little bit more than the $30,000 if we were to buy everything that we wanted to buy the way that we wanted to buy them. So we wanted to account for that this year going forward, that there could be an additional increase, and so we wanted a budget for $35,000 for 15 laptops.
Great, thank you.
Just a quick comment about that. Now, this is part of your annual replacement cycle. You're not just buying laptops for the need. They wear out, they last for probably
Correct.
3
And
years.
That's correct.
4 years.
That's correct. And this is also to keep us in line with our contract with the city of Tamarack, which requires that they only support a certain number of years for the age of the equipment. Otherwise, then they want to replicate what they have in their own environment and not have to maintain something that's way out of date.
Yeah, you have to do it for performance, and you have to do it for security reasons.
And just in terms of transparency, we also provide our contractors with similar because they're supported by us.
Correct. So 30 is the correct number. And we did 15, as Ms. Parrish indicated, last year, and this is to finish the complement.
Good. Thank you.
Great. Okay, Emil?
Whoop.
Lori, come on. Emil, please continue. Please.
Okay. So the next item is solid waste, the initial solid waste assessment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this is pretty much required. The first couple of items is essentially just indicating how is the town able to do the solid waste assessment. The third one pretty much indicate and explains what are we projecting. For fiscal year 24-25, for the solid waste assessment expenses has been estimated at $3.4 million. This is an increase compared to last year of $263,156, which is approximately 8%. This is inclusive of the annual CPI rate adjustment for the solid waste rate, which came in about 6%. That's when we do the comparison year over year. For the solid waste, we do expect an average increase for lot size, which is what I was explaining originally, how we come up with the calculation of $83.16, which is approximately 6.7%. The residential increase per unit is expected to be $48.83, and it's pretty much indicated on the slide, the previous year rate versus this year's rate. Per council directive, 50% is exempted to residents that have been homesteaded and that are permanent service-connected disabled. For that, 23 has been exempted. Compared to last year, 14, this is a big increase. How much that represents to the town? $6,939, of which the general fund would be absorbing that amount. This is the breakdown. Yes, this is the breakdown of the rates. As I mentioned before, 603.39 is the solid waste cost per unit. The bulk waste cost per unit varies depending on the square feet lot range within those different 6 brackets. So each one of them will give you an increase compared to the previous year when you compare the total adopted rates versus the total proposed rates for 24-25. The $83.16 that I mentioned before is the average of all those. Next one. So with that, we finished with the solid waste assessment presentation. If there's any questions, this is the time for us to address them.
Any questions from the council on the solid waste? Seeing none, is there any public comment on the solid waste?
Hello there, Jim Lasky, 5780 Southwest 188th Avenue. The consumer price index that you're looking at, one big component of the price index is automobile insurance, as we've recently found out, because everybody's been talking about it every damn day on TV. I watch financial news. Nobody else knows what that means. But, if we started the program that I suggested earlier, where we're sending all this yard waste, and then we get the permit for the organics, okay, and then we implement the tracking ability of waste management, which I've been emailing Russell about, and we implement it. So we know every lift of every container. It's got an RFID tracking device. And then we do a little bit of looking around. For instance, on bulk day, you see all the crap that's put where the yard waste is. Plastic pallets, kiddie pools, you name it. We can't get rid of that under my plan, where it'll take all of it, okay, if there's plastic in it. It's a contaminant, but it's easy to pull it out of there. All you got to do is don't pick it up and raise hell with the homeowner a couple of times, maybe a small fine, whatever it takes to get somebody's attention, and we're on our way. And with more data points on all these lifts, we can start to evaluate, okay, a decrease or an increase. And if there's an increase, we can stop it because we know better. We just got to be a little firmer about it. But my plan, we could start it next week. Everybody that hauls landscape material, and there's a whole load of them, they're going as much as 3 times the distance to go to Waste Management's dump that they have up on the side of Lake Okeechobee, right by where the prisons are up there. And there's another dump that they manage, okay, that's a little far west of that. But those are things that we can do. You guys can go there and see yourself.
Right.
I saw a hazardous waste truck,
All right.
okay, go into that landfill up by Lake. I'm
Great.
sure the Indians don't know
Thank you,
what's
Jim.
going on.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Hartman may have addressed this before and I didn't hear it. Do we know, are we recycling more or recycling less than last year? And is the weight of our waste more or less than last year? Do we know that answer? So that's one.
We know the answer.
Okay, is it, you have to wait till the end? Okay.
Please.
The other thing, it said the CPI rate adjustment, the contract came in at 6%, but yet it's an 8% increase. What concerns me is that if we're doing less, I know we have more homes, but is it less per unit? I don't know. If we're doing less, then where's the incentive if we're recycling more and being more careful? And, I don't buy vegetables or fruits in styrofoam containers, and, Debbie's got us all going crazy. We're walking around with little bags. But, so if we're doing all that, it looks like our efforts should be rewarded fiscally, not punished. So I just wondered if we know if we're doing better, and if the contract calls for 6%, why are we giving them 8%? Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Yeah.
I was just, as far as the information that you have, like, is it from like the year ago, and then where is this information, and how timely is that information? Is it still valid? And again, the whole push of recycling, all of that has only been in the past few months, so I don't think you see any results from that quickly. So I'm just curious as to where these results are from, because we've asked even in the advisory board for what is the breakout of what's recycled and what's this and what's that, and we weren't able to get that information. So I'm just curious as to where all of this is coming from.
Very good. We'll answer that. Any other? Yes.
Good evening, John Garotti, 162nd Avenue. In our quest for the zero waste plan in our future, if our metrics and our numbers and our facts aren't specific and more up to date, when you're planning your budgets, shouldn't we be using all the technology available? I know Jim always mentions the RFID. Our facts have to be more on point. And one of the things that Todd Storty, in just a brief conversation and talking to him, is the bulk waste is the majority of what's going into the dump, and the dump is, it's going to create, an increase in landfills, and if our numbers aren't what they're supposed to be, shouldn't we be addressing it and reviewing it and holding Waste Management's feet to the fire? That's just my opinion, my questions. Hopefully you guys can clarify that.
Great. Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment closed. Let me just address that just for a second. So the rate increase, or the increase in the contract is based on the anticipated amount of garbage that we're going to generate. Obviously, nobody knows how much garbage exactly the town is going to generate until the year is over. So the way it works is we pay what we anticipate, what we agree with WM that it's going to cost based on what we anticipate the tonnage is that's going to go out there, right? And then once the year is over, there's a true-up process that goes, and they actually determine how much we actually did generate. And so what Councilmember Hartman was referring to is that for our bulk and for our regular solid waste, we actually generated more debris than what we had anticipated for the year. So that's an issue. So that means that we have to pay. It's a true-up. Right? It's based on what we actually generated. We thought we were going to pay this much. This is what we actually generated, so we have to pay an additional amount. Now, unfortunately, with our recycle, when we did the true-up, we actually came in under what we had anticipated, which means we didn't generate as much recyclable material as what we anticipated, which means it's going the wrong way. And so, but as, you know, as Debbie said, we're just getting started with this. It just reinforces that we've got some work to do and that, you know, we've got the team to do it. So that's where that comes from.
Mayor, can I just address one other thing, and Emil may have wanted to address that as well. The comment about the 8%, why 8% if
Yeah.
it's showing 6% in the CPI? So the explanation is that the 8% that was used in the example was referring to the change from year over year in terms of the estimated cost, but the actual CPI adjustment is in line with the 6%.
And I think the question was, why is there a difference between that 6 and the 8%? And is that the additional debris based on the true-up, or, yeah, Emil?
Not necessarily, no. The reason is that we assess the customers based on the total cost associated to solid waste. 95% of that total cost comes from WM. There's all the costs associated to solid waste. There's a cost allocation that happens on a yearly basis. That cost allocation changes depending on the cost associated to it. And also, there's all other costs associated with solid waste, which is the statutory discount. That changes year over year. Collection costs and other costs, those are costs that comes from the county based on an estimated amount. So if that actually goes up, which is why 8% of which 6% comes from WM contract.
Great, thank you. All right, so if you can, Lori, we're not going to open this up every time. We have public comment open, and then we have public comment closed. If you want to have a comment, you can bring it up the next time we open it up for the next piece, okay?
I just wondered if you build a new residence that comes.
Go ahead and continue, please.
Okay, with that, we go to the next and final part of our presentation, which is initial fire assessment. Here, this pretty much indicates what allows the town to proceed with this assessment. And the second portion is listing the decision that the council made a few years ago to utilize a methodology in which we break down the three pieces for the non-residential units. So what are we proposing tonight is to continue with the established fire protection methodology, which is the blending component, commercial, institutional, warehouse, and industrial categories. Here, as was mentioned in solid waste, 23 homestead properties owned by total permanent service-connected disabled U.S. veterans are exempted, of which the town, the general fund will be absorbing that cost. That amount is $18,242. And then again, another portion for which some residents are exempted is the ag exemption per Florida statute. For that, $97,073 would be actually taken by the general fund. That is an approximate 1,072 acres. This is the chart as to indicate the history. We actually expanded that more than the 3 years because we want to show more, and that's why we included 21 and 2022 into it, just to see where we're going and how we have been able to get to the 793. It's important to mention that in 2023, Town Council adopted a subsidy to the fire assessment in the amount of $503,000. That's 503,832, of which it was utilized in the 2023 assessment to keep the fire assessment rate at 764.88. Otherwise, that would have jumped to 888. So then next year, based on our calculations and the arrangement that we did on the fire contract with the town of Davie, we were able to realize a decrease of 758.63. Why was that? Well, basically, when we presented the proposal last year, and we came up with a rate. Once we present a rate not to exceed, what we presented to council last year was 758.63. And if we were to utilize that fire assessment, that subsidy to the fire assessment, would it have brought that amount lower? So what council decided was to bring it a little lower at that 758.63, keep it at that amount, utilize a little, about 300, I have the amount, 391,437 to subsidize at that amount, and the remaining balance would actually go back to unassigned fund balance, which was about 111,000. So this year, what we are proposing, it's $793.14. That's not inclusive of any amount of that same subsidy, which is the $502,000. Why are we doing that? Well, we're leaving it to council to decide, rather than, because this is a not to exceed. If we were to utilize that amount, the not to exceed would actually kick in, and there would be no utilization or no options to town council how to proceed. So we're bringing this forward to get guidance from council, so it could be actually discussed during the budget workshop. Here, we're presenting what the rate has been. This is actually included in the methodology report that the consultant prepares for the town. And this is a breakdown, a 5-year rolling average, year over year, what it was, inclusive of that extra year.
Can you go back to that? I don't get that number. So residential, other.
This is the call volume, yeah, the call distribution.
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
This is the call distribution, how many calls?
Call distribution,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. So with that same rate, the $793, that would represent an increase per dwelling unit of $34.51. And again, this is primarily due to the Town of Davie safety escalation rate increase. And again, this is just indicative of what I just discussed on the previous slide. The second item is it's expected, the acreage is expected to have $1.42 increase per acre, and the combined blended methodology, non-residential, is expected to have 0.0992 increase from the year before. So what we're asking to council, of course, we're going to expect any questions and comments from the one that we just finished. But once we finalize that, this actually settles our presentation for tonight.
Great, thank you, Emil. So we definitely do want to talk about the subsidy, potentially including that with this round. I would definitely support that.
Yeah.
Mayor?
But any other comments? Yeah.
Yeah, I have some comments.
Go ahead, go for it.
The $500,000, this is our third final year that we decided 3 years ago. I think we should apply that to the fire assessment increase, and the balance of that should go to the waste increase.
I agree.
And we've come up with, we've run the numbers already.
Okay.
And
I just want to make sure that we can move it from one to the other, that it was not
it's
designated
coming out
funds.
of the general fund.
That's coming out of general fund.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
we had
Yeah,
a
if
conversation.
council gives us further direction to whatever's utilized from the subsidy and is left over, I should say, from the subsidy can fall back into unassigned general fund balance, then at that point, we can utilize that to do whatever we'd like, yes.
There's one small caveat, of course there always
There
are,
is.
but we're going to have a shortfall of, I believe, around $20,000 or so.
28.
28, okay, 28,000. And I propose that we take that 28,000 from the lien and forfeiture fund
Okay.
to even that out. I'm trying, in the meeting I had with Emil and Russell, I wanted the residents not to have any kind of an increase, a substantial increase in fire and trash. And we held the 3.9
Awesome.
millage.
Yeah.
So that, so nobody's getting whacked really hard here.
Right.
you know, we've already, you know, we're keeping it at the same level that we're
Right.
keeping it
Yeah.
and doing that.
Yeah, it's a great suggestion. Excellent.
If I could jump in, I support that. I've had similar conversations, and we've collected this money as tax money. We might as well reimburse it back to the residences.
It's their money.
To stabilize it exactly, as best we can.
Good.
Just one other comment. If anybody has questions after we finish discussing something, Emil will answer all those questions tomorrow. I mean, he's great at it. He's been doing it for a couple of years now here. And that's part of his role. If there's any questions on the budget, anything we go over tonight, give him a call tomorrow if you missed it tonight.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. David?
I also agree that anything that we control, any of the rates that we have control over, obviously the property appraiser sets a rate and a value of a property and causes their property values to go up. We don't control that. But anything that we control, the millage, assessments, fire, solid waste, I want it to where all of our rates produce no additional burden on our hardworking residents. I want it all the same.
Absolutely.
Thank you, David. That's why the three of us ran this exercise several days ago
Right.
and tried to figure out a way to make this pan out. And then we had the shortfall. And then I said, well, we've got a fund that's just sitting there
Yeah.
collecting dust, so we might as well use a portion of it.
Perfect. Yeah, it's excellent. It's
Yeah,
excellent. Jim?
Mayor, I agree with it also. If we can use this fund, that'd be great. Like David said, we have no control over what the Broward property appraiser does to the value of the homes, but if we can help here, that'll help. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think we're all in agreement on that. It's great.
Recap too, that what we want to say tonight is to basically give you the maximum flexibility, and by doing that, we would be setting the rates at the highest
highest.
proposed rates. And then
Right.
after the workshop and into the budget hearings, you could set it down lower and instruct
Right.
us to use those subsidies for those purposes, and then we could lower those rates and equal them to last year's rates.
Right. But I think this is a good discussion so that when the workshop comes around, we can already have that
Right,
published,
correct.
that's what we anticipate moving towards. Good. All right. Any public discussion on the item?
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. It says in the resolution, providing a new definition. I'd like to know, one, how is the new definition different than the old definition? And what is the impact onto the fire assessment and to the town that this new definition creates? The second thing is taking a whack at a meal, which I enjoy. On acreage is $90.53. Looking at the very last line in the physical impact analysis, it says that vacant agricultural property is, as he said earlier, $97,073 on approximately 1,072 acres. Having something that is approximate by a financial entity is not to be allowed. Considering that 1,072 acres at 90.53 is $97,048.16, a difference of $24.84, and I'd like him to correct this and to tell me where the $24.84 came from that he has added on to the $90.53 for 1,072 acres. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Newell. You never fail to disappoint in a budget meeting.
It's beneficial to have a math major in the audience.
Yes.
My question is, because we have so much new construction, like if you buy an existing home and you come in, then the garbage rates and the fire fees are paid. But what about the homes that, say, are CO'd in February and March and all throughout the year that haven't paid any fire or garbage fees? Is there a process in place like other communities to collect those taxes, to collect the fees for garbage and fire that come, February through September or something, so that they chip in too? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment closed. I don't know, do we have a?
Mayor, would you like me to address that last question? So
Okay, please.
On the last question, we do have a process in place, and as part of the CO process, we run, as soon as the house is ready to have their CO issued, a condition of the CO being issued is that they pay their pro rata fire assessment and solid waste assessment, so we do collect it.
Excellent, excellent, thank you.
Yes, correct.
All right, very good. Any other final comments? Yeah, Emil?
Just, so what we're going to do is essentially recap all that information that you provided to us and then put that together for the budget workshop. The amounts are essentially estimated until we get a final number. That final number is going to be presented during the budget workshop.
Good, thank you. Any final comments, questions from council before we vote on these items?
Nice job, thank you.
Yeah, excellent work, excellent work. That's a team effort, good group. All right, should we vote on these individually?
I would recommend that we do that,
Okay,
yes.
all right, please. So let's, if we can please do item number, what is it, 14?
3.9.
Certainly, Mayor. Item number 14, Councilmember Albritton?
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski? Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Item passes. Item 15, Councilmember Albritton?
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski? Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Item passed. Item 16, Councilmember Albritton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Item passed.
Very good. Thank you. Once again, excellent work by the finance team. And really, I know all the departments come together to make this happen. So great team effort. You all did amazing. All right. Item number 17 is a discussion item that I wanted to bring back. This is an item that brought on a couple of meetings ago. Miramar approached us with a potential resolution for us related to supporting their effort to oppose the incinerator that is actually going in Miami-Dade and is literally right across the property line from their residence. So over the last almost nearly a year, I've been working with the SWA to build a consensus towards fighting for the incinerator here in Broward County, and it's been highly successful. It's night and day versus where we were a year ago, and what we're seeing now in the proposals that we're doing for the master plan. And we're fortunate that we've got a member on there that is also from the city of Miramar that I've been working with, and she's been awesome. And as a matter of fact, she is now commissioner-elect in Broward County. So that's a very useful individual to be partnering with, I think, going forward. And so we've been working together as part of the SWA to do this. And so when this came to me, there was a number of things that I was not comfortable with, and a number of things that I knew this item needed to have work done on it. Unfortunately, when it was brought here initially, there was not a second on it, so we didn't take any action on it. I did have a follow-up conversation with Mayor Messam in Miramar, and I had to report back to him that we did not, but I said we'll look at it again. And so I appreciate your ability and your tolerance to be able to bring this back up again. I would like to see us be able to move forward with this in one fashion or another. Like I said initially, I was not comfortable with the amount. I was not comfortable with the potential liability that the town would be incurring by doing this. I did have a conversation with Keith, and he expressed to me, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he expressed to me that, he felt like we could do something as far as that liability, if we get the right wording in there. And so those are two items that I'm not comfortable with, that I know would need further work, but I wanted to see if we could get a consensus here for us to move forward and get an idea of if we did, which I certainly hope we do, to see if we can get some some of the mechanics, some of the details that we can provide to Keith so that he can provide back to us a document that we would be generally comfortable with. We would still have the opportunity to tweak it if we needed to, but at least we would feel like this is aligned with most of what we're looking for. So that's why I brought this discussion item back, and I'd like to have it so that if I can get your feedback, get your thoughts on it, and see where we can possibly go from here.
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah.
I'll start it off, okay?
Thanks.
I wrote this, I've got 5 pages here.
Okay.
6 pages. My mission today is to at least get 50% of the people here pissed off at me.
Okay.
So,
Right.
I think I'm well on my way. All right. I wrote this about 4 weeks ago, okay, when it first came up. So, and then it was dead, so none of this changed. But I'm going to be reading off of my notes here, so please bear with me. First thing I did some research. Miramar's annual 2024 budget is $381 million. Their request for $30,000 is 0.00008% of their budget. So obviously, they don't need the money. I think they're trying to spread the liability, myself personally, all around. The proposed lawsuit to relocate Miami-Dade's new incinerator would probably result in a countersuit from Miami-Dade or its vendor for interference in their affairs. And there was a word that was used for the interference, Rich, start with a T.
Tortious, yeah.
Yeah,
tortious
interference,
right,
yeah.
so we're good.
Yeah, tortious interference on that.
Yep.
And so we're opening ourselves up to that. I would, other item, I would like to know if any other municipalities are participating in this interlocal agreement. Pembroke Pines, Sunrise, West Park, Weston, where are they coming in, and why is it only little old us, as far as I know, at this point? Personally, I believe we're wasting our time telling Miami-Dade County what to do. The answer to their voters is, not to us. They have 2 sites picked out a few miles apart. Out west, the Doral site is a non-starter, according to what I've gathered from the media. I believe they will pick one of the 2 sites out west, regardless of any efforts made by any municipalities in their neighboring county. The forces behind this construction and decision-making bodies in Dade County have billions of dollars at their disposal, and we can't compete in that kind of an arena. Instead, maybe we should consider making nice with Dade County and convince our Dade County commissioners to see if their chosen site can accept Broward's waste as an idea, which could avoid an incinerator in our backyard. It's just an idea. I would fully support a resolution to support Miramar's efforts to move the incinerator without the dollars attached. That's the sticky part, because that opens us up, that exposes us to liability. And unfortunately, the resolution would probably be toothless, but we would show solidarity with Miramar without the potential liability lawsuit that is sure to come. This is not our fight. Ours is what's happening in our own backyard. I suggest that we take the funding requested and add a similar amount to our fiscal 2025 year budget and apply it to hiring a qualified lobbyist to help us fight the proposed Broward site located in our backyard by interacting with the Broward County Commission. Also use these funds and any additional funds to pay for limited projects that the Zero Waste Task Force needs to inform the general public of what's coming our way, such as yard signs, banners, etc. This group does not have 2 nickels to rub together, and they could use our help against the fight against the incinerator, which will be possibly in our backyard. I would also suggest that we do not take money out of our reserves, and we use the money we have accumulated in our forfeiture account to accomplish this. This way, we would be using non-taxpayer money. If we join the lawsuit, we will appear to be opposed to everything. We're getting a reputation. This will hurt us in our fight to stop the incinerator possibly located at the landfill, which, by the way, is about to get a lot higher with the Broward County recent ruling. The risk in opposing a Dade County incinerator is not worth the reward, in my judgment, dollar-wise. Personally, I cannot support this resolution if it has money attached to it. and it's probably going to lead to even greater costs down the road. As we all know, usually the opening salvo is just a small part, and then it mushrooms, and it's like a big snowball rolling downhill. And by the time it gets down there, we're way beyond the proposed 30,000 that we would end up sharing in that. Not to mention the lingering animosity garnered if we enter into this lawsuit against Miami-Dade, by not only Miami-Dade, but also by our own county and the Florida legislature. This could absolutely kill our chances in the future revenue from Tallahassee, especially since I just learned that the next House Speaker is from Miami-Dade. So politics matters. It's going to play a part in what we do next. A resolution, I think, is fine. I think it's great. If we do that, putting the money to it, I can't support that.
Great, thank you.
I'm giving you my
No,
thoughts.
It's good. It's good feedback. That's what I wanted, a couple meetings ago. I wanted the feedback. So I'm good with that. I have some thoughts on that, but let me open it up. Any other? Well, I'll kind of give my reaction to that. So I'm also, I'm not on a different wavelength of that. I'm concerned about that money as well. If that's the key, I said from the beginning that I wasn't tied into any particular amount, and that includes zero. What's key to me, because as you say, politics does matter, is that we build on this consensus and we build on this partnership with the other municipalities in Broward County, and Miramar is a key one. And to just ignore it and do nothing, I think is not the way to go. I think I know I personally have put in a lot of time and effort, and I know others have as well, to build this partnership that says not just not in my backyard, but it says we know let's do something better for the next generation. And so that partnership is an element of us all recognizing these particular issues. Yes, I went to Miramar right out of the gate. I went to met with a lot of the different mayors that are in Broward County initially when this came out, and I went to Miramar. I think they might have been my first visit, and they were very polite. They had almost their entire commission there. They had a lot of their public works staff there, and they said, kind of thanks, but no thanks, So I get that. I understand that. That was before the Miami-Dade situation popped up. But I still say, listen, I think we're better than that, and I think that it's important going forward that we work together so that Broward County, and as much as we can influence for Miami-Dade, does the right thing. And so I'm comfortable with that, and I don't even know, I would say I would almost go a step further. I'm comfortable with the $0. I don't have a problem with that at all. I would still want Keith to take a look at it and make sure there's nothing else in there from a liability standpoint. But I think it's critical that we provide something back to them with, I'm fine with the $0, as I've said, but with minimal changes, but we need to protect ourselves. Listen, I'm the guy who didn't support the whole CCA litigation that ended up costing us. I was the one guy that said, no, I'm not comfortable with that. Okay? So I'm the last guy that wants to get us into new litigation. So believe me when I mean, that would have been $1 million in our pocket. So I'm not looking to start another litigation by any stretch of the imagination. If anybody has reduced litigation in this town, it's me. When I first became mayor, I got rid of 3 or 4 elements that could have turned into litigation. So I'm certainly not looking for more litigation. Anything we can do to ensure that doesn't happen is important to me, and I will support that 100%. But I would like to see something move forward so that we can show some partnership with Miramar, if possible.
As a suggestion, and I'll just continue with what I know you guys all want to chime in here. Why don't, while legal team is researching, you said the dollar repercussions, we can do a resolution without dollars first.
Right.
That's what I suggest.
And run that through the mill, and then deal with any dollar issues later.
When you say dollar issues, what do you mean?
If there's a possibility, a legal possibility that we can participate dollar-wise.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm not really thrilled with doing because
Right.
I think it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, no, I mean, you made great points, Gary. You made great points. I don't think you made it. I don't think you made half the enemies you were scoping for. But no, I'm just kidding you. But no, you made great points. So
Nice to
there's
hear that
nothing
once
wrong
in
with
a
that. There's nothing wrong with that. And and I would go a step further. That I like your ideas about. I think we do need to allocate some money to the zero waste group because
Yeah, I think,
there's going to be.
I think they don't have literally
don't.
2 nickels.
No, they need a
If they
budget.
go out and get 500 signs.
100%.
Okay, and pass them out, we'll pay the bill for that.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what
We
I'm
need to.
advocating.
We need to. Yeah.
That's what I'm advocating. They need help in that sense of projects. And, they put it out there, they give us an invoice, we pay it, and that,
Yeah.
I checked that out with Keith. We're not liable for anything.
Yep.
We can do that, and we do have the financial resources to do that, as you know.
Absolutely. Yep. No, those are great suggestions. It was great comments. Yeah, Bob.
Just a quick comment. I am very much for partnering with them because I think, to your point, this can lead to other partnerships and a stronger relationship between the two municipalities. I'm not for partnering on any kind of liability.
Correct.
I mean, that's not a partnership I'm interested in to expose the town. As far as the funding, I was thinking originally, well, a few $1,000s, but that's even more zeros on the front, a few $1,000s as opposed to 30. I would really like to spend that money at home. I mean, we've had requests from our own team that, they'd like to be able to communicate better. I'm all for supporting that. So if we can come up with a resolution that strongly supports them without risking the town, I would vote yes.
Good. Thank you. Yeah.
David? It's actually, it's kind of funny because I actually am looking at the minutes and I made that resolution. And I didn't get a second then.
So let me address that for a second. So I would like to take what they propose to us and adjust it. I just don't want to do a regular resolution like, hey, you guys are great and we're with you, know. I want them to say, hey, I want them to see that they proposed something to us and we came back with supporting that as closely as we can with what we're comfortable with.
The way I've perceived what's going on with Miami-Dade is Medley has indicated that they want it there. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm just a little further away. That Medley has indicated that they want it in Medley.
I know.
And my perception of their Mayor LaCava, if she's reelected, she doesn't want it on the border because of the environmental concerns that she has. My concern, and the only reason that I was not looking to second that is I had a big concern, the liability, being an attorney and the exposure that we could face. And you said you oppose the CCA litigation. It's the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same issue. I don't want to expose our residents to having to foot a legal bill that has nothing to do with what we did except a decision that we wanted to help them.
Right. I agree.
Mayor, everybody said just about everything, but I do agree that just because Miramar said no, doesn't mean we can't put our big boy pants on and help. We don't have to give money, but we can give support. We can form a coalition of people together, and the more you have, the better. We need everybody we can get to help us fight. We might as well help them fight. But the cost, the liability was the same thing. I think that's why you didn't get a second on the discussion, because I think everybody was worried about liability. If we can cancel that,
Right.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I will tell you this. I was extremely disappointed because I made it clear when I brought it up that I was not comfortable with the wording the way it was, and I was just looking for a second so we could discuss it. And I was extremely, as one of my most disappointing moments with this council, to be honest with you, that we could not even discuss the item. That's disappointing. But I'm glad we brought it back. I think we could have gotten here 4 weeks ago, but we're here now, and I like it. So I think with that direction, what I'm hearing, correct me if I go astray, but what I'm hearing is that we can give direction to our legal team that to work on this resolution, taking out all the dollars, and asking them to review it from a liability standpoint to ensure that even with the dollars out, we're not incurring any liability for the town.
I think you nailed it.
Absolutely understand, Mayor. We'll go over
Perfect.
that with Keith, and then we'll follow up with.
Awesome,
Thank you.
awesome. All right, we're good?
Yeah, I think
Great.
you hit the nail on the head with a very big hammer.
All right, excellent. Thank you, and appreciate your comments. All right. Item number 18, approval of minutes from June 27th. Any additions, corrections to the minutes from
Motion to
council?
approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any additions, corrections for the minutes from public? Seeing none. Deborah, please call the roll.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Minutes passed.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.